you're hoping for something exciting. Anyways, yesterday we saw Cloud9 stage a huge comeback to win their semifinal after losing the first 2 games to Team Liquid. I mean, you were here on the desk with me, Zyrene. Let's recap yesterday for maybe those who didn't get to see that exciting series.
Yeah, started off 2-0, really clean there from Team Liquid. It looked like they were going to be the team to just take it all, and then the reverse sweep. The big story of this series, though, is being able to keep your spirits up, because the series isn't over until it's completely over and you've won 3 games. And being crushed in that final game that we just saw there, that level 1, really seemed to devastate their spirits, and there was no coming back from that. That was a game that was all about having trust in your shot caller from behind, and Cloud9 did that perfectly.
That game was also really crazy for me personally because I just remember last split, it was Curse with Dom, Xpecial, and Quas, and the exact same thing happened, except it was even more high stakes, where it was their spot into Worlds, and they had a 2-0 lead against LMQ in a best of 5, and then they got reverse 3-0 swept just exactly as this happened. I feel like there might be something wrong inherently with that team when it comes to shot calling in a best of 5, or just they really just don't know how to, I guess, get momentum from behind again.
Well, yeah, it is amazing how the best of 5 can affect a team and how stamina and mindset is such a huge role in a best of 5. Now, history is continuing to repeat itself here with Team Liquid going down, or up 2-0, down 3-2. Cloud9 making it into the finals every single split that they've been in the LCS. And Team Solomid is another team that has done exactly that. They have never missed a finals in the LCS.
Yeah, I mean, CLG lost in quarters, 2-0, reverse sweep 2-3, in a place to take 4th for Liquid. Cloud9 made it. TSM looking like they can make it, but there's still a lot of room here. Team Liquid could still get 3rd. TSM could not make it as well. I think this could be a couple of upsets here.
I was about to say, Double, do you think this is the split where TSM does not make it to the finals?
If I had to put money on it, like, absolutely not. It would be really crazy. I feel like it'd be like, it's called the underdog story for a reason, because it's really unlikely to happen. Tip can win, but really TSM is so favored to win. They're so strong. They made every final so far, like you said. I don't think it's in their favor to lose.
All right, well, let's take a look at the bracket to see how it has filled out. As we mentioned, Cloud9 roared back to life after a tough start and clinched a spot in the finals. We'll learn which team they will face off against after today's semifinal between Team they will carry with them into the summer split. Now remember, the first place team from summer split will automatically win a take a closer look at one of the players in today's match. Since joining TSM in the summer split, Lust Boy has quickly become a fan favorite. He credits his team for helping him make a smooth transition into the LCS. has done a fantastic job at integrating foreign players into their organization, and Lustboy, a personality that people have so quickly fallen in love with.
And I love the fact that they've been able to cultivate that personality and put it out there, because you see a lot of people come over or join teams as new players, and then you know nothing about them for like a year and a half, and it's like, I don't even care about this guy that much. So now people are invested, they care, and the support that he's gotten from it is absolutely incredible to see. And I think that helps his mentality as a player. When they lose games, he has the team behind him, and he has his fans behind him too.
Double, if you've undoubtedly had the option or the ability to be a bit closer to Lustboy, being a player, seeing him backstage, how would you say his evolution has been, you know, from day one in the LCS to now?
Well, day one LCS, I definitely thought he was just a quiet Korean. Just, you know, all of the players who come to North America at first, they're a little shy and they're uncertain of their English. But this split, the first thing, first interaction I had with him is he walked up to me and said, "Big fan," like a joke, you know, he's a big fan. So I thought it was really funny. You know, he has a lot of, I don't know, personality, and I didn't really know that until he started doing the little face thing, and he started talking to me a little bit more. So yeah, Lustboy is definitely really cool.
Yeah, he's got a great sense of humor, and he doesn't apologize for it.
Quite a bit of charisma and confidence, to say the least. Well, you can read more about him in You Can't See Me, or Can't See Him, rather, The Rise of Lustboy on lolesports.com. Face off against Cloud9 in the finals. So Double's got a little backing there. Now let's send it up to the caster desk to get the games underway.
Thank you very much, Dash. What is up, everybody? It is playoff time yet again. I am David Freak-Turley. With me are Joshua Jatt Leesman and Sam Kobe Harbin Kenzer. You guys ready for some semis?
Yes.
Yeah, I would hope so.
I think we're ready after that crazy European series. We could be in for another 10-game day.
I hope so. Riv got lucky. He got to cast the whole 5 games. They were amazing. I'm hoping for the same thing. Anyway, guys, we are loading up now today's semifinal best of 5. It's Team Solomid versus Team Impulse. It is the defending champions against one of the hottest teams in the league.
Yeah, and beyond the playoff implications, this is going to be an exciting match because in their quarterfinal match, a lot of people were pointing out that Rush hasn't fully embraced that tank junglers meta. But personally, I don't think that is going to hurt them that much. Team Impulse can integrate a Cinderhulk into their playstyle and still keep the identity of the team the same. They can have Impact go with that TP Smite lane in the top, and Rush can still play his early aggressive junglers that he loves to play, and he can work with Impact to take over both jungles, and they'll still have that Cinderhulk tank for the late game. On the other side, you know, of course, Darius also can run TP Smite, but TSM have not played with a top lane focus in a long time, and they tend to have some growing pains when they move into styles that are not focused around the mid lane.
Now, of course, the semifinal, you mentioned the mid lane a little bit. It actually pits our previous 2 MVPs against each other. Xiao, the defending MVP from Summer Split, Bjergsen, the man trying to get his title back.
Yeah, and Bjergsen has been playing incredibly well all season long. Sometimes solo killing his lane and carrying the game straight off of that. But you look at Xiao, and he's been somewhat of an enigma.
In this one, but TSM's coach Loco Doco believes that Rush is the other big variable to watch in these games and says that Impulse will live or die by Rush's aggressive moves.
Rush is a wild card. Like, he can be a double-edged sword. If he fails his ganks, I feel like he's going to flop. And if Impact isn't able to put pressure on the map, I feel like the other side of the map for our team will just win out.
That happened a lot at the beginning of the season when they had first come together. And there was so much talk. We heard the coach talking about how they're a united team now.
Yeah, I do agree that risky plays in general, though Rush is very good at them, they will fail once in a while. But in a best of 5, you can lose one game off that, but I think by and large, it'll be a lot of good choices by Rush, and I think Impulse can definitely rely on that aggression for some good results here. Anyway, guys, going to check out the starting lineups, and on the blue side, it will be Team Solomid with Dyrus in the top lane, Santorin in the jungle, Bjergsen to watch here. I'm hoping for all 5 games, and you were kind of saying the same thing here in Champ Select. I'm curious to see what ends up happening.
Yeah, the strangest thing about the picks and bans on this patch is really every team in every series takes on its complete own identity right here. Will they be focusing some bans onto Rush? Will we see bans focused at Bjergsen or Xiao? What will the strategies end up being?
Yeah.
I guess the key guys to watch for then, yes, can the engage stick and can the kiting happen for TSM? It's going to be a bunch of fun. We're going to keep tabs on how you guys at home are predicting this series. So stay plugged in over on Twitter and send your picks with hashtag TSMWin or hashtag TIPWin to @Level Esports. Let us know which team's going to win the entire series. And here we go, guys. Game 1 of the second semifinals. Team Solomid and Team Impulse.
All right, so as far as the early game as well, oh, never mind. Santorin on the Nidalee. Not only does Nidalee fit really well into the team comp here for TSM, but he also has a lot of power early on in this game, and that's what we were looking for from Santorin in this game. See how well he can control Rush in the early game.
And that's one of my biggest compliments to Santorin this entire split is how he can almost play any style.
Such a versatile jungler.
He draws a ban on Sejuani, a tank teamfight jungler, but he's been just as effective on an early game poke pressure champion like Nidalee. And it's not the matchup we expected, actually. Rush on Nunu, where are his mechanics going to benefit him here? He's got to dodge those spears for one, not get smacked by Santorin.
Well, he's Nunu bot. He needs mechanics to keep himself running. As you were saying?
All right, TSM skill shots, though, on point so far. Landing a few. Defensive starts from everyone. You always have to be careful when the other team has double smites and Nunu about some tricky level 1 starts. Stealing away something from you in the jungle. Does look like it will be the lane swap for Impulse here, and TSM are not calling it, just heading straight bottom with the Krug advantage.
Well, this is what we saw a lot of yesterday, defensive wards in the river, so the ability to call a lane swap becomes guesswork. Until they see someone show in lane, they will not be able to know what lane they are going to. And maybe Adrian was watching yesterday's games, solo in-bait Nautilus time.
Elimination. Good idea.
What this?
Santorin level 2
could
be a bit of a risk.
Okay.
All right. He's like, I'm afraid.
Not as effective as Lemonation.
A bit less so. All right, Impact and Rush heading down towards the bottom side jungle there. All right, he's on the hunt.
Big Papa Lemon.
Well, this is what happens when you have your AD carry on the side of the jungle that the enemy jungler is starting. You can go for some more harassment, but Adrian...
Oh, he got one.
Very passively going for that, honestly. I was expecting him to hit Rush a little bit earlier, or sorry, hit Santorin a little bit earlier.
There's
because of that vision, they are doing
Here's a bit of a sneaky start that I was talking about.
Hey!
He doesn't have Ice Blast, though, so Santorin going to try to walk away from this one, heals himself. Rush with Consume has no follow-up, but this is a greedy jungle start. You shouldn't be able to get this as Team Impulse.
Lustboy with the roam, because this is, again, an example of Lustboy being on the strong side for TSM, and Impact ends up taking it anyway.
Wow, poor Santorin.
Just what we were looking for. Rush and Impact to take over both jungles. They do just that.
God,
yeah,
so
and then some. And the neutral camps. Yeah, Santorin, nowhere to really go anymore. He's going to have to go back for the blue, which he had actually left due to the harassment he was receiving from...
See if Adrian makes another visit, because they do have a ward on it. Doesn't look like he's moving that way, though, so they leave Santorin alone.
One of the byproducts of all this, though, has been that Dyrus has not been denied, as you would see often in a 1v2 lane, so they're actually prioritizing Shutdown on Santorin.
It is going to get worse for him, though, because the lane's shoving away from TSM territory.
They got to just send Lustboy up there to give him some support, and then they could 2v2, because the experience will actually be pretty close.
All right, looks like that's what they're going to go and do. The double support versus the AD carry and tank in this lane. Still going to be a bit of a freeze, but you imagine the wave clear and the ability to get some CS maybe a bit better for TSM down in this one. Meanwhile, the other side of the map, we are seeing, of course, Impact largely just kind of farming the jungle, but has now made his way back to the turret. And he is 1v1 in Corki with, he's like level 3. I think he's fine.
Yeah, I mean, he got a lot of experience out of the jungle with the double jungle start. Made it to the turret before the wave crashed in. So all going according to plan for Team Impulse.
Wow, that's an early dragon.
And what's crazy is this is supposed to be the weak side of the map. Like, TSM's 80 carries on the bottom side, and yet the double jungle of Tip takes the jungle, takes the dragon.
That's the thing. They started with the double jungle, they got river control, and also because they were going to freeze Dyrus, they forced Lustboy up. So this is actually just a neutral side of the map, but because Rush had an advantage over Santorin, he's able to rush down the dragon before the 5-minute mark. Really good early jungle planning for the Nunu from Rush. So not just mechanically skilled, strategically skilled as well.
It's been absolutely great to watch, but meanwhile the top side fight, a bit of damage going back and forth, a nice spell shield by Apollo to stop some of that.
Ooh. He took Sivers' advice, just duck.
It helps for Lulu, she's short. Maybe the hat gives it away, I don't know, but... Adrian going to be really bad at dodging boomerangs. Thankfully, no friendly fire in League of Legends, and so TIP can hard shove this duo lane out. About 1,100 gold on the AD carry, so if he wants to back, it's pickaxe. Darius TPs to gain more.
Yeah, we haven't been able to touch on this mid lane, which is normally heavily pressured by TSM.
Wow, Summoner heal burned that early by Xiao Xiao. He wouldn't have died, but I guess he wanted the movement speed that badly. There were no ignites there. He really wasn't under that much damage threat.
Yeah, well, he probably didn't want to have to go back to base because if he gets tagged by something else,
Another
soon,
Acid Hunter.
Yeah.
Oh.
That would suck.
Speaking of another Acid Hunter, yeah. Chunk. Thing is, they both just recalled. That's Tier for Bjergsen and a Fiendish Codex for Xiao Xiao. And he's got a maybe go right back. He's out of potions now. Jeez.
The nice thing about Orion in this matchup, though, is he can self-shield himself when the Acid Hunter lands and at least reduce the amount of poke he will end up taking.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if he's going to put a
crab
second
claw.
point. Yeah, he can take one of those Acid Hunters. I wonder if he puts a second point in shield a little bit early in this matchup just to deal with that Acid Hunter threat.
Yeah, so far, not 3 points in queue. This one,
Oof.
Yep, takes one crab claw. Takes the second one, though. Xiao Xiao down to 300 health off this one, 240. The rest supporting the lane. He couldn't clear the pink ward, but he might shove the wave out to give Xiao Xiao a recall.
He might just have to hold it.
Yeah.
So again, classic TSM, the mid lane power is actually relieving pressure on the jungle. The double jungle stalled out here with Nunu having to show in the mid lane. Takes away a lot of Rush's game plan. Whenever you show up on the map as a jungler, it affects you for the next few minutes as well. Santorin can see which side of the lane that Rush exits from. Can work around it.
So, somewhat of a typical start here for both teams. Impact and Rush providing a lot of duo pressure early on, taking the dragon, making sure Impact, despite not having flash, can have a pretty good laning phase early on in the game. But then the mid lane, with Bjergsen, thanks to a nice gank from Santorin, setting Xiao Xiao back a little bit. It's going to be a little bit of top lane priority versus maybe a mid lane and bot lane priority there from TSM.
What's interesting about all this panning out is essentially the lanes have been equalized. Like, the top laners are within 100 gold, the junglers, it's 200 lead for Rush, but Bjergsen's up 200 himself in the mid lane. But looks like top lane's getting pressured. Hook lands, Dyrus getting snowballed. He's got no way out of this one. Who's going to get the kill? It will go to Apollo to break the lead apart. TIP get the kill in the 80 carry.
Speaking of classic TSM, we've seen this story before. Rush going top to try and punish Dyrus.
He upgraded his challenging smite already before he could finish the Cinder Hulk. A lot of people have been going Bami's Cinder first, but Impact getting in close for the dueling and takes a chunk out of Wild Turtle's health bar.
He's got to be a bit careful until he gets that rage bar filled up, because Wild Turtle can easily hit him from range and kite back for days. With Sheen, the ability to chunk him out is actually pretty high.
Yeah, Turtle went with the aggressive part of the Trinity Force first for the extra harass versus the melee champion. Gonna try and keep him down. Cinder Hulk #1 completed. Rush able to upgrade. Interesting, he has gone for the Chilling Smite for the extra slow here, since this TSM team is all about kiting. Basically, Tip just want every extra tool that they can have to try and track somebody down, even though he already has snowballs. Every extra slow counts when you're facing this much disengage.
It's definitely going to matter. TSM, as you said, running a 5 range comp, and kiting going to be really, really important. Pretty low crowd control.
Yeah.
Decent sustained damage, decent burst, and, you know, again, kiting the goal for TSM, so TIP trying to counteract that. Blue buffs traded over, both millionaires get those without being contested, so secondary jungle invade's not happening yet.
Whenever I see these 5 range comps, it gives me nightmares and flashbacks of WoW Arena 5 elemental shamans. Just targeting whoever steps forward first, basically, gets the full focus of 5 people. And you DPS down a single target really quickly. I'm very interested to see how the Shyvana can stack up. Will Impact actually be able to tank all of that focus?
Plus Orianna shields. As far as focusing down the person in front, Impulse is theoretically positioned fairly well to do so with really tanky people.
Yeah.
Double Cinderhawk is already completed less than 10 minutes into the game. And whether or not they can click on Dyrus and close the distance.
Well, they clicked on him, but he's got the ulti and a flash available, so the damage output just not going to land anymore.
Key right there was Dyrus timing on his ultimate. Adrian not able to get that slow Nautilus auto attack off for the root.
Yeah, great mechanics there. Dyrus, though he's left on an island, he's pretty resourceful himself, so some good plays, but top lane's still going to be knocked down. Apollo with plus 75 attack damage from his purchases. Gonna look good. Shockwave onto Bjergsen. Rush has joined this fray. Couple of slows. There's Chilling Spot on top of that one. A snowball again going to be joining soon. Bjergsen flashes the ulti channel, and there's one more hit. Kill goes to the mid laner.
Yeah, a bit of a late flash there. You have to flash an ability if you're going to escape that gank. Pile on slows after slows. Good gank there from Rush. You don't have to bring CC from the jungle if your mid laner is packing already. And Xiao hits the perfect shockwave.
Impulse starting to win a couple of lanes here. If they can somehow win that mid lane against Bjergsen, that would be highly critical in this series. Something that happened last series as well for Impulse. Rush didn't farm that much, but he's in a little bit of trouble right now.
Seeing fights everywhere on the map. Dyrus forced the flash away. Blue Trinket for the chase. The flash engaged from Nunu. Flash away from Wild Turtle. Fights all of the map. Dyrus goes down to Xiao, and Wild Turtle gets out.
Thought that Rush was caught behind enemy lines, didn't ya? Haha! They forced the mid laner back because it just killed him, though. So Rush, he knows what he's doing. He plans his invades beforehand. You kill the mid laner, then you can go into the enemy territory and invade even on half HP.
One of the decision points you have to make as a jungle Nunu is whether you put points in Consume or Ice Blast. Consume is heavier for farming and counter jungling. Ice Blast is more for fighting people. Rush likes to fight people. He's at 4 points in Ice Blast. You can see right here, he's low health, but he's Nunu. Dyrus has been denied farm heavily, didn't have his ultimate. They just chase right through. And then Rush also allows Xiao to pick up the kill, which is perfect for Impulse's team.
Yeah, plus Rush had all of the neutral camp buffs for Nunu for consuming. The extra elemental camp damage on hit right there. Early damage from Nunu. Very underrated, actually.
Well, Skara, half your tweets correct here. TIP living and dying by Rush's pressure, but the Rush pressure is definitely working right now. So, Team Solomid on the back foot so far.
So far, he's part of all 3 kills. Yes, the kills were really well played by the laners as well, but Rush the one getting into the position on time and going for the play. Speaking of plays, second dragon for him, times it after the first one. You always want to keep that chain of dragons going when you have the Nunu on your squad. Provides a lot of mid-game pressure because you come up on number 5 so quickly.
Yeah. And as far as a 5 range kiting composition plays, they're not that great at forcing fights in places. If they were the ones potentially controlling the dragon, they could kite around and off that dragon. But if Impulse just goes for it, there's not too much TSM could do to brawl into them later on in the game.
Team Solomid looking like they might need some leg up back in this game. Mid lane outer has already fallen. Top lane outer was traded because of the lane swap. And right now it's a 2,000-ish gold lead for Team Impulse. Some very good plays by Rush so far. The dual lane's going to match back up, and it's a lot of attack damage versus not yet a Trinity Force for Wild Turtle.
Yep. And plus, since the duo lanes have matched back up, that means top lanes match back up. Impact with the fully completed Cinderhulk. Jungle invading, took some camps out of the blue side, heads back up to the lane for lane farm as well. This is the power of the TP Smite, Shyvana. Uh-oh.
Oh, wow. Ulti on a Wild Turtle, but the hook on a Lush Boy. It does have Flash and Monsoon. He doesn't have to use them yet. The only miss is the auto attack. Adrian does not land the root on Wild Turtle, but Rush doesn't seem to care. Monsoon used to disengage, and TSM will survive this fight.
The second time Adrian hasn't been able to get his auto attack off after closing. First one was because of the Dyrus outplay. That one was Adrian messing up his combo, but the aggression from Rush ends up burning the heal from Wild Turtle as well. A lot of pressure created by these plays, but this one doesn't really go in the favor of Impulse.
It doesn't just yet, but it will give them some time to run around the map as the looks like the lane's mostly licking their wounds. What I want to watch, Kobe, you talked about the duo lane, or sorry, the 1v1 top lane here, where it was Dyrus versus Impact, of course. Impact right now spending a fair bit of time jungling. Darius was getting a partial freeze. He looks like that's going to be pushed back out. These top laners, I do want to see how their fights end up going.
It looks like he's going for a fight right now, not farm.
There's no ult on Darius.
No flash in him either, but
Impact doesn't have his bar charged up for ultimate either,
Yeah.
so.
okay. Lustboy doing what Lustboy does best, vision control. Puts the Howling Gale out. Yep, that's a Nautilus. All right, stops him out. 5 gold for you. Good job. But the aggressive pink ward, or the defensive pink ward rather, is going to stay up there, protected by Adrian and Xiao. Impulse pushing in their own wards and rush with the Sightstone, getting a lot of control in this bottom jungle.
Yeah. Finding the pink ward is half the battle, though, so TSM do know it's there. The question is, can they do anything about it? Rush moving up that vision line, as you said. Santorin at least able to claim his own Raptors.
Wow, and a really smart ward right there by Rush, actually. I think it was Rush's ward. It's in front of the Raptor camp, but not on the brush. Santorin just swept that brush expecting a deep ward, but he still has a ward that'll spot the Raptor camp clear itself, so good mind game there.
The other thing is, we are now approaching those spikes that we talked about in Champ Select. The Trinity Force done for Corki. Bjergsen working towards his Muramana transform still, going to deal a little bit longer on that. Decent amount longer on that.
Yeah, but at the time, TSM doesn't have the ability to force anything. Unless they can group in a lane and start shoving down turrets, they're not going to take advantage of these power spikes, because once again, TSM doesn't have the tools to engage. They have the tools to siege and disengage, but you have to come from some level of advantage in order to pull that off.
Yeah, that's a good point. Plus, if they do siege up, they really do have to worry about all these deep wards. Impact teleport coming from behind you, a flank from this Shyvana at this point would be devastating for this team. Anybody who gets knocked in closer to the core of the Impulse team is going to have a really hard time getting back out.
Well, then be careful, Team Solomid. Your flash is going to be pretty important tools. Only really Wild Turtle has a great far-moving move block. Santorin can jump, I guess, and like Darius can whimsy you, sorta, but as far as getting caught out of position, there's not a lot of escape tools for TSM that aren't shield the guy and hope he makes it. So definitely some threats on the field here. Team Impulse looks like they are 2 minutes away from Dragon number 3. They are the team with the lead still. 2,000 gold lead. But not much else other than pressuring for a Dragon so far for the Impulse squad.
The fact that the gold is at 2,000 is still meaning this game is anyone's to win. Impulse definitely has a big advantage. I do want to talk quickly, though, about Xiao's Orianna here. We're seeing the resurgence of Orianna in both the European LCS today and maybe more the NALCS. A lot of it does have to do with the buff to Athene's giving more mana regen, because that's one of the big gates for the Orianna as far as being strong in the lane. Can she shove and still be able to play defensively, which is completely gated by the mana pool? Here, Xiao at least is able to shove out and stay somewhat defensive. Not ideal against physical damage, though.
Unfortunately for him, Bjergsen cutting right through it. Early Brutalizer completed. So those Acid Hunters really taking their toll.
Yeah, Bjergsen doing what he can to shove the wave out. We're seeing, though, that repeatedly he's just not able to get a lot done. Xiao able to shield himself pretty much repeatedly, stay alive. He did not, by the way, put any extra points in shields. 4 points dissonance now, so it seems like just Xiao relying on dodging skill shots in this one. Now you mentioned TSM maybe grouping up, pushing a turret down. They do have Santorin and Lustboy joining Bjergsen in the mid. This is actually to get Dragon Ward control. It spawns in 30 seconds, and TSM are not content to get that one away.
That actually really hurts, the double sweeper on the single ward when they're trying to claim the vision around Dragon. 30 seconds before. There's one extra ward here from TIP in that all-important mid-lane brush, so they will see the move before it happens. Question is, will they be able to purchase and reposition in time? Right now, Impact's heading back already.
All right, he's walking down. Lustboy recalled to buy a pink ward because they realized they couldn't sweep any more wards away, but he's the only one sweeping vision control out.
TSM definitely has the vision control, but they don't look like they have the team to hold it. You noticed as soon as Rush face-checked the brush, everyone on TSM backed away. They're going to try and poke them out, if anything, but Impulse is going to force TSM to them.
Let's see if TSM actually go for the mid-turret. It looks like they're going to try and take the fight, actually. Shyvana coming in from the back.
Adrian with the shield on, though, not taking a whole lot of damage. Darius and Javelin's coming in as well. And the top lane is going to be joining the fray.
Impact.
Shyvana's in from the back. There's the ulti on in. Impact. What's he going to go and fight for? The hook on in goes on towards Dyrus. The Dragon number 3 does come in. And now Dyrus forced to run away. Flash, Ice Blast, catches Santorin, but Apollo wants to go for Dyrus. Is Lulu trying to run away. A couple of Howling Gales knock the team back. And now the whole team is split apart. TIP stuck in the middle. Everybody's any of them. The kiting is working so well, but it might not have the durability to stay alive with this one. Impact is forced away. And no, TSM force Impulse away, but the Dragon still goes to the red team.
A preview of things to come, potentially, in this game. Impulse trying desperately in a pretty spread out fight, so TSM couldn't even synchronize their disengage, but they still disengage everyone. Impulse could not close a kill. They did secure the Dragon, but now TSM gets to push down a turret.
Yeah, I think that was actually very fortunate for TSM, considering they started this fight with Shyvana at their backs. That was the worst possible scenario that I had prepped for this team, and they still were able to scatter. Yes, it cost them a ton of summoner spells, and they weren't able to get that focus fire that I was talking about, which is the key to the 5-range comp, but they survived it.
Speaking of surviving it, though, Apollo getting chased down by Santorin. Dodges not the rocket. Doesn't dodge the auto attack either, and there goes the kill. Santorin gets the first one on the board for TSM.
And he's becoming sneakily farmed. All the while Rush was getting map pressure, Santorin was able to keep his CS up. He'll be getting his Rod of Ages right now to begin stacking. But to talk about that last fight a little bit more, while TSM didn't get the focus fire, neither did Impulse as far as focus firing their initiation. Watch here, they did get the Nautilus ult up top onto Wild Turtle, whereas Impact jumped around the side and the Shockwave missed.
Yeah.
If they were Shockwaving on Impact, that's a kill for sure, on at least 2 people. So it's not like Impulse is hopeless as far as finding team fights. TSM did a great job disengaging this fight though.
Yeah, like I said, this is pretty much the best that TSM could hope for with the way that that fight started. You know, missed Shockwave, Nautilus ult combo didn't work out for them, and they weren't, and nobody was able to, you know, catch a target. You can see the 5-man squad of Impulse were just changing directions, trying to run at somebody, but they couldn't get in melee range.
They couldn't quite do it, so Team Solomid, after all that, they decided, all right, a 5-on-5 is something we can get pretty close to. The Dragon went over, but the mid lane turret did go down, which means this game is now within 1,200 gold. TSM, despite a 3-kill deficit early on, really holding on nicely. Rush playing for aggressive wards. Nice trinket by Dyrus to get rid of the Raptor buff, but Impulse playing around the bot lane most likely, it seems. But this turret is going to go down. Gold lead regrown here. Impulse shoving waves in as well.
All right, Muramana Transform, Last Whisper plus Brutalizer. Those Urgot Acid Hunters are really going to take their toll if they can buy time for the poke to land.
And the thing is, that last fight was before the Muramana combine as well. Bjergsen has skyrocketed in power since that last fight. And Team Impulse might need to be able to account for that. The fact that Urgot's going to do a whole lot more poke next time around.
You might freak out, Freak. Turtle's got the makings of a second item Last Whisper on Corki.
Not a fan.
I do it.
I think he's facing a double tank team.
True damage.
So he could very easily turn those parts into something else, but
No, he's not.
he has the makings of a...
I actually really like what Hai was doing yesterday in the North American series. He was going Ruin King second on Corki against a double tank team. Not only is it more kiting power with the active, but it's the passive damage against double tank. I think that is really the best build to run on Corki in about 90% of games, because you run against double tank 90% of games.
Yeah, well, Wild Turtle will get to choose his own adventure. TSM needs to have power for the rest of this game, honestly. Team Impulse will still be building up the initiation tools, especially when Xiao completes his death cap for some lethal shockwaves if they start hitting people.
Yeah.
Something to worry about with the TSM team composition as well, even just harkening back to pick and ban. When they do end up giving the Lulu, it does fit into some of TSM's greatest strengths, where Lustboy is a master at disengage supports, and when you're stacking the disengage of Lulu with Janna, it can become overbearing if executed properly. Impulse trying to stack as much engage as possible, was not able to do it on the last fight. And it's really hard to set up fights if TSM has the type of wave control they have right now.
Oh, absolutely, and you can see TSM doing a good job of holding on to that top lane. The Impact split push not doing much. TSM gets some chunks out in the mid, and now TSM rotates to the top lane. Impact's got to be careful.
Impact is trying to punish Dyrus again, but the ward coverage here for TSM is perfectly placed for the top lane focus. Impulse are not falling into that trap, though. They don't run into the area that TSM has warded. They shove straight up
They don't have minions.
looking for a trade. They could
They should tank the turret with the Nunu, but Rush was off in the jungle countering. This is Impulse being really behind on the turret trade. They might have to try a sloppy fight, but the disengage potential, unless Impulse engages very precisely, would stop it. They're trying to flank, but they are out of sync.
They're using Sivir to push down the mid lane, so it will be a 4v5. Top lane tier 2 will go down. TSM get the rotation on 2 turret kills. Impulse will trade 1, though. They finally got mid lane pushed down. And the question is now what happens in the second half of this one. Dragon up in 30 seconds. TSM definitely getting the advantage, but they're now very far away from Dragon. Ooh, they're near Baron, though.
What an interesting series of events. I think this one's going to continue. We talk about Impulse trying to become more and more cohesive as a unit, but TSM definitely showing more cohesion and experience in shot calling right there. They do have to reposition, though, otherwise they make a real 5-Dragon 3.
I mean, number 4 is actually really important. It looks like TSM actually making the move to go inhibitor for Dragon number 4, though.
Oh, wow. Okay, how many resources do you send Team Impulse? It's just Rush and Apollo 3-man defense. Considering one of them is an Orianna is maybe just enough. Bjergsen recalls, Dragon 4 certainly going to Impulse. TSM bet off more than they can do with that top lane.
That 5 stack coming up very quickly against the new team. Team Impulse have so much pressure now. Next Dragon spawn, they can actually make the 5 range comp walk into them.
And it would only be 31.5 minutes into the game. Because Rush was able to solo the Dragon at level 3, and they've maintained pressure over that objective, it's always much faster than you expect.
Yeah, it's always the goal with Nunu.
Objective control.
Try and change those.
Oh, dear.
Well, here's an interesting thing about 5-Dragons as well. It will make them even stronger in team fights, but will they actually be able to get the team fights? They still have to use that 5-Dragon fight. I think they get the 5th Dragon, they go for Baron, and then they try and just dive turrets. If they can't actually catch or fight TSM, though, that may be their plan. Bjergsen, that blue buff might cost him.
Here we go, gonna swap in. No, gets stopped out. The hook's gonna come in. Bjergsen has some defensive stats, but only for a few more seconds as in comes the rest of Impulse. Lost gonna buy a bit of time, and he gets healed. He's actually still alive. The fight's gonna continue. Apollo low on health, and Bjergsen putting a lot of damage down from the backside. Rush now stuck in the front as well. Great Glitter Lance to slow down a few more members. Xiao forced to run out of this one, but he's gonna be a bit careful. Will they really go for this? Out of mana.
Bjergsen sped up.
Xiao yet to hit a shockwave in a team fight. That is so critical for them. Again, they had the catch, but they got disengaged by TSM. Bjergsen is painful. He got the blue buff. I call worse.
Man, I don't know why. This is one of the first times I've seen Xiao hesitate on pulling the trigger. Usually, Team Impulse blow as many ultimates as they have to get a kill.
Oh, hold on. Rush getting slowed down. The chain slows from Bjergsen. Chilling Smite. He's going to go dive for this one. No, he's not. Are you kidding? He broke the shield for the slows, flashed away, no impact to rejoin the fight. Bjergsen caught alone on the chase, so Adrian's gonna go down to Bjergsen though. It's gonna be a lot of damage. They're gonna trade back though, and Bjergsen goes down a 1-for-1. Crazy fights. Santorin comes in, gets a second kill. Revenge for Bjergsen, chase on Apollo, flashed away. Wild out of misses, rocket number 1. He's gonna hit him with the Gatling gun and then take a second down. That is a 3-for-1 TSM.
The shield's at full strength, Captain. Put him up on Bjergsen. He survived for ridiculously long inside the enemy jungle there. And they're able to take down 3 kills. We get to see the power of stacking shields with the kite comp here.
The power of being able to get away from any fight with good team coordination and some great supportive play. And then re-engage, because Santorin is so sneakily fed in this one. So first off, Bjergsen goes on a solo mission, goes to try and finish Rush, and now it's all about who can collapse to the fight the fastest. When Bjergsen forces the flash out of here, he immediately creates an odd-numbered fight. Yes, they go for Bjergsen, but he keeps himself alive for so long that it is such a tilted fight. Bjergsen basically took 2.5 people out of that fight before it even began. Then Santorin lands a spear to go for the re-engage.
Beautiful execute there on Xiao. And as we know, Turtle valking and flashing into the team fight.
Impact missed his ulti right there, trying to chase down Santorin there. I think he might have had enough damage to kill him if he had landed that vacuum dragon spam, but didn't happen there, so.
This may be one of the games where getting 5 dragons doesn't mean that they win the game. It doesn't give them a monstrous leg up, just a potential because of how well TSM is able to disengage from Impulse here.
The extra speed boost is going to be almost as important as the extra damage that you get from number 5 for this team. The thing is though, with TSM being such a split damage team, all this mixed damage, it makes it really hard for your super tank to be that effective. Right now, Impact pretty heavy on the armor resistance, and the magic damage will cut right through him. Bjergsen's got so much armor penetration, all that armor stacking's not even helping him that much with the main attack damage dealing threat anyway. So Impact actually fairly squishy here as far as the resistances go.
Team Solomid, big threats in the jungle, mid lane, and AD carry role, and hard to itemize against all three. It's looking good.
The biggest thing you do against a poke team that you can't fight is you force them into spots where they can't kite. The Dragon will not move, the Baron will not move. So Impulse needs to make sure they don't get caught chasing kills in the jungle or in the open, but they fight entirely around these objectives.
Oops. Well, that next big objective, 1 minute and 30 seconds away from Dragon number 5. Impact right now stalking Dyrus. Dyrus knows, nice leash there. And he'll get the Krug, right? Yeah, all right. More gold for Impact, level 16.
Looks like Impulse just accidentally dropped a pink ward in the mid lane there that they actually needed for the Dragon.
Yeah.
Well, if it was Adrian's, he could just put a new one down. That guy still has one in inventory, but I don't know who actually put that ward down. Right now, though, Team Solomid still pressuring mid lane. They're really not letting Impulse get vision control, yeah.
I mean, they're the ones with the deep wards on the blue side jungle here. All right, let's see how well this siege goes, though.
Target is Bjergsen. Knockup comes in. The hook in as well. Bjergsen has nowhere to go, but he's going to get backwards very, very far. Russ still trying to buy some time, buy some zones. Three-man shotgun, but it does almost no damage at all. The chase still coming in. Impact tries to kill Bjergsen, but Wild Turtle's going to be the target after Bjergsen gets all the shields. Finally, Team Impulse get a kill in a team fight.
How hard do they have to work for said kill, though? Oh, man, they are really low, and TSM might be on the re-engage path.
And they're going to try a lot of shields. Low cooldowns means they can keep those health bars deceptively large. Impulse not able to stay in a 5v4.
That could be Dragon.
15 seconds. Blue buff instead, maybe. Maybe both.
Blue buff would let Bjergsen continue to spam out any poke for anyone who gets near Dragon. So the main objective for TSM there accomplished. They get control of the Dragon area. Circling around here though. Double smites available for Tip and the new consume with no flash though.
Kind of low as well. That's a really nice assassin hunter from Bjergsen. Impulse is going to push him off the Dragon and go for a fight.
Oh, the flash Q lands a one-shot Lustbow with a dissonance. They had Show show up without recalling and healing up his health just high enough. Dragon 5 in the crosshairs. That's going to go over. 5-man Dragon buff for Impulse at 32 minutes.
I love this matchup. Both teams showing the strengths of their comps here. And the difference coming out with just slivers of HP. Let's see how well they can use this number 5, though.
This is what was expected. As soon as Impulse gets the 5th Dragon, to rush immediately for the Baron because they are even stronger in the team fights. Add that to the fact that they actually finished off Lustboy, and there was a critical thing that happened in that Dragon fight that could be a danger for TSM in the future. Lustboy is so focused on his disengage with the Talisman of Ascension, just the Size Stone for the health, and that 1 health crystal. He can pop really quickly now. So if Impulse targets the disengagers, not the carries, then maybe they end up winning these fights. With Lustboy out of there, no way TSM could even think about going back in because they do not have the disengage potential anymore.
Yeah, that's why we keep on bringing up the communication for a 5-range team comp like this. Not only do you have to focus your damage, but also your defensive abilities. The shields have to be applied very quickly to whichever target Impulse are actually going for. If Xiao is sneaking the Orianna ball into the backline and one-shots your AD your support, then it's actually taking out a huge tool for this TSM squad.
TSM need all the tools they can muster right now. They've still got about 2 minutes on Baron and a minute and a half on Dragon 5 for Team Impulse to push in. And this is probably the highest Impulse will ever be spiked above TSM right now. They've got both big global buffs, neutral buffs. If they can't do anything with this, when will they ever get anything done?
This is the moment for Impulse, for sure. The thing is, TSM still has pretty good wave clear, pretty good disengage. Basically, Impulse needs to try and shield up, keep the wave alive, and get an initiation without having to dive Nexus turrets. But here they might go.
I don't know if they're going to get Bjergsen. Shotgun comes in. Oh my god, that's a lot of damage! Santorin almost dies as well. Okay. That hurts a bit, and Team Impulse going to look for bottom tier 2.
Xiao comes up huge, killing his MVP counterpart, looking to make a case for himself this year.
That 5th Dragon buff helping his damage a little bit too. That's exactly the break they needed. Didn't have to dive super deeply, but because of the shockwave, this push could go all the way.
Oh my god, Dyer's getting caught up as well. He explodes. 2 kills in a row. Team Impulse looking to use these buffs to close the game out right now, but they are out of minions. Wild Turtle will survive with a Valkyrie. Impulse impatient here, waiting for minions. The cannon not going to break a backdoor bonus or tank shots for him. Out goes Tip for now. The respawn's coming in fairly soon for TSM.
Plus, it's extremely difficult for TSM. They still will be facing reoccurring Dragon number 5 spawns.
Yeah.
Every time it comes back up, Impulse have a huge draw out to the middle of the map where they can pull TSM into the team fight that Impulse are looking for. Plenty of wards laid down leading up to the Dragon area already. It's looking very good for Impulse here.
And Xiao has become Orianna in this game. He really, it doesn't matter if you can reactively shield or disengage if one shockwave combo kills you. I mean, Bjergsen, at this point, they stun him with an auto
All shields are up there too.
Yeah, they break through the shield with the boomerang, and then they just blow almost 2 people up with the shockwave combo.
Bjergsen doesn't have any magic resist. He's relying on his swap to get him any of that. So he doesn't get to swap anything. He gets cut down.
Yeah, he has
by the
no
burst.
defensive stats.
Got furious.
No Aegis of the Legion on TSM because they're all super focused on disengaging and not fighting. But at a certain point, if you're getting caught by any spell, the one-shot protection just is not there.
Well done by Team Impulse to find the dive. Sivir and Nautilus into Shockwave. Seems to be enough to lock down a Squishy for long enough to kill them. Impulse now out of Baron, out of Dragon buffs, but they want to go for top lane tier 2. Right now, Darius is sitting there, wave clearing bot lane, so a 5v4 over here at the least means the turret goes down.
Not done here yet. Everybody just piling in onto the inhibitor turret as well. Without Darius there, they take so much damage.
Still some threat of a swap with the minions all going down, so with 2 casters left, Impulse does disengage and wait for the next one. Dragon's up in a minute 30. Right now, if Impulse died, they would still respawn in time, so no huge risk yet for a fight.
Yeah, they're going to force TSM to stop them.
Santorin just tried to do the throw spear, smite the minion that's in front of it, but smoked a little late.
Righteous Glory used, but no engage comes in, so that is a cooldown burn by Team Impulse, but their health bars have been dropped lower. They have all this poke from TSM. They're going to force to disengage. TSM, of course, with no really good engage tools themselves, can't chase them out.
Mission accomplished. 1 minute on Dragon. Impulse get to dictate the close of the game. Let's see if they can actually execute, though. Because the fight will be on their terms, but you still have to pull it off. TSM have shown they can pull the Kaiten fight fairly well, but they're running out of tricks here. This time around, though, Bjergsen's got both summoners. This is going to be the last key fight here.
Yeah, it's tricky, though, Kobe. Bjergsen low on mana, Xiao and Rush were able to deny the potential steal of the blue buff Lust Boys back there. It's almost like TSM has to concede this 5th Dragon again. So Dragon number 6 on the game, but to refresh the 5th Dragon buff.
If you concede Dragon number 5, you're also conceding Baron, and that's probably the game then.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough one. 10 seconds on Dragon.
Not going to be easy, but you got to do something.
And now the shields from Xiao are enough to keep Impact alive against Poke.
Dyrus trying to TP in. He was managing the minion wave right here. TSM not going to concede, but it is a tough contest if there ever has been one.
And the bot lane is pushing in right now. TIP start out Dragon. 2,000 health left. They're going to finish this one down. There goes Dragon 5. And the re-engage. They target again onto Bjergsen. Switch to Wild Turtle. The root is on. The absolute zero to kite the team away. And Wild Turtle now isolated. That is the first kill of the fight. And the re-engage. Rush flashes over the wall for an ice blast onto Dyrus. Distance puts him back into range. The Dragon buff burning down. Dyrus could have used the taming skin for this one, but it's not going to be enough. In comes Impact. Help that one. Xiao gets the kill credit. And now mid lane under fire.
What a game plan here for Team Impulse. This was pretty much exactly what we expected from them. The top lane tank. The wild card is that Rush actually went with the Nunu finally, and they pulled it off really, really well. Such a good game plan. This is the opener, though. Best of 5 series. We've seen them go the distance here as far as the semifinals.
Yeah, great start for Impulse. A very decisive victory. Objective control was the name of the game. They take game 1.
Well played in game 1. The objective control, the double smite, the Impact Rush synergy. Those guys
they will have edges in those because they are so strong in the lane.
I'm so excited that they finally pulled it out. Because I keep cautioning against it. Like, you know what? Yeah, Rush, he also can play a Cinderhawk, right?
Yeah.
He can play this Nunu, but they never use it. And this is Impulse. They're the team that's notorious for, playing around in scrim, sort of, trying a lot of new strategies.
Playing around in a nice way.
Even in the LCS, a lot of the people are wondering, are they really using the strongest strategies that they have in all of the normal games?
Yeah.
Now, though, against TSM, the #1 team, trying to get into playoffs, Impulse pull out all the stops game 1, and it works.
What I really loved about this game, you mentioned he's bringing out the Cinderhawk junglers. Even though he's playing Nunu, you're like, oh, he's not even mechanically like that hard of a champion. You could tell it was Rush playing Nunu.
Yeah.
That's the thing. You could tell that was Rush with the helm there.
The name above the head.
The name above the helped a whole lot. The fact that I know I'm casting TSM as Impulse, but the fact he's in their face all the time, right? The 6-minute Dragon was really good. He stole Santorin's jungle in front of his face with the enemy AD carry down there, like
With Impact at his back.
Yeah, of course, right? He's got his friend, the top laner, but that synergy is still working so damn strong for Impulse.
Definitely agree.
No matter what the champions are, Nunu, Shyvana, double jungle, still amazing. So a great team, game 1 for Team Impulse. TSM hoping to bounce back. Going to send it over to our analysts to see what they have to say on Team Impulse's first win of the series.
Thank you, Freak. He mentioned the Nunu. I want to talk about the Nunu because it's not necessarily something that we attribute to Rush. We think of Vi, Lee Sin, all the aggressive junglers first in terms of fighting. Nunu aggressive in that he wants to be in your jungle. And Team Impulse essentially coming in with 3 smites. Nunu's Consume, his smite, and the Shyvana TP smite top lane wreaked havoc in Santorin's jungle.
They stole this strategy from Gravity that they played last week. And Santorin actually tweeted out last week, double smite. He's like, oh, good luck, Rush, right? This is the jungler's nightmare. Now Rush is like, that's actually a good strat. I'm going to go make Santorin's life a living hell. And they did that right off the get-go. 3 buffs started on him. And it was a team effort, too. Nautilus came down and even participated in slowing down Santorin's jungle. So they had tabs on him from the get-go, and then they just tried to snowball it there. He even just walked up to lanes. And he said, like, Nunu, right? He's like, oh, this champion that, like, Rush, he plays Vi and stuff like that. Rush has actually kind of transferred not his type of champion pool, but his play style to other champions. He's still going to gank. He's still going to walk up to lanes and snowball them and then just punch people in the face. Like, he's going to play that aggressive style, regardless of the champion, and I love seeing that.
Yeah, and Nidalee is just a champion that needs to get early pressure off and early ganks, but you saw Rush was actually the person getting those ganks off. Part of that is because he got screwed over in the jungle by the double smite, and also part of that is just because with double smite and consume, you can control crabs really well. And crucially, Nidalee is the champion that's going to be roaming around between the jungle quadrants a lot, and if she gets spotted at any moment, it's really easy to dodge her gank if you expect the spear to come. So Santorin really didn't get anything going for his team, and that was a team comp, I feel, where you have a protect the AD sort of comp with Lulu Janna, and there's nobody really worth protecting. Urgot and Corki don't scale well into the late game, so they just had a time limit on their comp and didn't manage to do anything with it.
Yeah, and these comps, when they clash together, as soon as you saw the Lulu and champions, like TIP was like movement speed increases to get to whoever they're trying to protect, and you saw it there. Everybody on that team can speed somebody up once Nautilus gets the Righteous Glory, right? So at the end of it, it was disengage, kite back damage from TSM, so they can't force objectives. It's all TIP that get to arrive at the objectives, and TSM can't force their way in once that happens. So the comp from TIP and the reaction to the Lulu first pick, which they assumed was for Dyrus, was perfect for them, and their champion select was flawless.
Yeah, Santorin being relegated to farming through his jungle relieved a lot of pressure for Impulse's laners. And then, as you mentioned, the clash of the two styles here, the entirely poke, disengage composition versus the you're not getting away from us if we want to engage composition on the side of Impulse, and the objective control that they had. And that's what I want to look at next, because that's what I feel Team Impulse used their smite and the Nunu consumes, the double smite Nunu consume, to perfectly control the global objectives on the map and put TSM in positions where they had to fight but had no way to engage.
Yeah, even though the gold was even for so long, that 5th dragon creeped up on them so quickly, and that's what opened up the game. Because if it is an engage comp against the disengage, disengage has no way to get in. They kind of poke you from the outside with the Nidalee, and once you're tanky enough, you have to kind of reevaluate your strategy, because that was not working for them.
TSM on your screen here, reevaluating, I have to assume, as you said, their strategy. Double lift, the Lulu top for Dyrus. He started 0-2, wasn't incredibly successful on it. Is the TP smite going to be a big issue in this game for him?
Yeah, I was just going to point out that Darius is actually really slow on meta changes, and especially right here, it really showed. He died multiple times in the 2v1, which really, I mean, Darius dies a lot normally, but that was especially bad because it was early game versus a new jungle. And not only that, but crucially for TSM, Darius is almost never a damage threat. He's normally the punching bag of that team. They have Bjergsen and Wild Turtle doing a lot of damage. And in this meta, TIP is at such an advantage because if Impact gets going, and he's amazing at getting going, and he gets Skirmisher's Saber, you can reduce the damage one of those two threats does by 20% and just become impossibly tanky to deal with. So this meta is putting TSM at such a disadvantage with the way they're playing and how far behind they are, I guess, in understanding it.
Yeah, TIP have to find a way TSM have to find a way to shut down this meta from TIP, ban out top laners that use that smite, find something, and possibly adapt themselves. I don't know what they have prepared, but this is the meta that TIP stands a good chance against TSM.
I also think that TSM needs to find a way to be more proactive.
Yes.
Because this poke disengage composition, as we've stated, although can have pressure from the Nidalee, and if you are ahead, great, you siege up against a turret because, Impulse can't do anything. But when that doesn't happen, we found TSM at a loss. They were just giving up dragon after dragon after dragon. We saw 4 dragons at 25 minutes. The 5th one came in soon after that, which led to a Baron, which led to another 5th dragon. I mean, there's just no way back into it when they had no way to be proactive on their shot calls, which is normally what we, praise TSM for, is that Bjergsen is a great shot caller, playmaker both individually, but also a fantastic shot caller. And they're not giving themselves the tools to win games through their cohesion.
Yeah, you'd have to be pretty much on point with perfect calls to run that type of disengage comp because TIP, all the movement speeds, run you down as soon as one person missteps and takes one step out of position. It's just like Shyvana with all these movement speed increases goes after them and you're not going to kill her with the challenging smite. So it's all about that shot calling, but being proactive is so hard to do with that comp. They need to draft something different.
All that being said, Doublelift, it's not like this composition couldn't have worked, but as you stated, they didn't have a super huge late game threat in the Corki and the Urgot. So, I mean, I would assume that you would much rather have had a Callista, a Jinx,
yeah.
A Kog'Maw even in that 80 carry position. Put more weight on Wild Turtle's shoulders. He's showed us before that he can handle it.
Yeah, I think that it's a lot better if TSM gets a better late game in this next draft, but it's just so hard for them to close out games right now the way that they're playing because if you're playing against TIP and Impact is running one of these really tanky bruises with Skirmisher Saber, it becomes an impossible split push threat. So it's really hard for you to get up and group. As you saw, like when TSM did group, there were these really sloppy fights because they couldn't ever get together to get vision before the fight started. And when you're playing against Shyvana with Skirmisher Saber, like I said, it's just really hard. There's so much pressure on the map. You have to send 1 or 2 people to go deal with them, and it's just impossible for you to get to group up. So having a better late game will allow you to just kind of idle around and make TIP make the first move, as opposed to you trying to get in there and force a fight when you're 4 dragons down.
Well, the defending champs starting down 0-1 here in this series. We still have a lot of League left to play, and when we come back, the teams will return to the Rift for round 2 between Team Impulse and TSM. The action continues after this.
LCS, Rivington here, joined by Chris Cluey, former NFL punter. Now at the new LCS studio, you've been to our Worlds, you've been to our preview studio. How are you liking the new digs?
It's awesome. I mean, this is very much the stadium experience. Not quite the size of an NFL stadium, but you guys are well on your way there. It's pretty sweet.
And this year, obviously, everybody following the fantasy leagues, their favorite teams, maybe putting some TSM members on their fantasy league. As you said, you were a TSM household. How did you enjoy the PTL FL4 fighting against Freak and all the other celebrities?
Oh, it was awesome. The fantasy leagues were great because it gives you that incentive to tune into other games and to cheer for people. And I got to say, my man, Saint Vicious, trolling everyone by running into fountains at the end of games. Saint, I hate you so much, but keep it up. It's awesome.
A lot of love in the air right now. Now, to the item at hand, Team Solomid going up against Team Impulse. What are you thinking right now, and what do you think about the first game that just happened?
Well, I think that Team Impulse came in with a strategy that TSM wasn't quite ready to prepare for. The TSM really wanted that kite game, and instead Impulse said, we're going to fight over these objectives, deal with it. And TSM simply couldn't do it. So I think they're going to go back to more of their standard picks. I think you'll probably see Bjergsen on either LeBlanc or Zed, and then they're going to force Impulse to react to them. They don't want to have to react to Impulse.
So what you're saying is you still have faith in the Bay Life?
Yes, I still have faith.
All right, we'll see if that controls and goes through for Team Solomid. We're going to throw it over to the guys at the analyst desk to start off game 2.
Thank you, Riv. We are heading into our second match between Team Impulse and Team Solomid, and you heard Chris say it there, TSM not able to fight over those objectives, and he's looking for them to be more proactive, as we kind of mentioned already. But now I want to get into how they do that, because it seems like they are far behind in the meta, as you mentioned before, Doublelift, an arbitrary 3 numbers of metas behind. And normally that's something that you would have liked to have seen fixed in practice. Now you have 15 minutes between games. How do you do that?
Well, I don't think Darius can just randomly change playstyles, actually, and just learn this in the span of a best of 5. So what I do think, though, is Bjergsen and Wild Turtle need to step up and understand their roles in this meta. I think that with a top laner that is unwilling or unable to play these sorts of really carry top lanes with Skirmisher's Saber, Wild Turtle should stray away from the more utility-focused AD carries. That is like Sivir and Corki. He should play a hyper carry to deal with this threat later on, and Bjergsen should play a playmaking, aggressive, or like dive-heavy mid laner, and not Urgot, because if they don't have any proactive moves or strategies, they're just going to fall behind and get slowly, I guess, suffocated by Rush. So they need Bjergsen to be able to carry the early mid game and then have Wild Turtle play late game insurance.
Yeah, and in the super early game, Santorin is getting suffocated by Rush and the entire team of TIP. I talked to Santorin earlier online, and he was extremely confident coming into this game, and he told me he likes to visualize Rush's jungle route and try to cut him off. But that was a completely different jungle route than you would normally expect because of the double jungle.
Yeah, and also because of the 2v1. I feel like Nunu is the cornerstone of the 1v1, 2v2 normal lane jungler, because Nunu wants to invade the enemy jungle solo. It would really throw Santorin off that TIP forced the 2v1 with Nunu jungle, and he was like really confused. His starting path was extremely off, and then Rush just completely crushed him from there.
Yeah, and Rush, man, I absolutely love this guy because he's showing that jungle tank meta is just an item. It's not a play style for him. He's like, I got Cinder Hulk, and I'm just going to play my game still.
Yep. We know how much you love Rush.
Yeah.
Rush, we're looking for him to continue to be aggressive because he is definitely a playmaker for that team in that he puts a lot of pressure on the map. With the other players, though, if Bjergsen is to step up, does that point to Zhao having to move into a position of being able to carry hard from the mid lane and counter that?
I don't think so, because Vladimir or Karthus are pretty meta right now. He just picks a farm champion, sits back, and Bjergsen can't make any plays on him. And then Bjergsen has to roam. But if you have this TP Shyvana running around in the jungle as well, the early plays are kind of cut off. That's my take on it.
And the way I view these teams is TIP has Rush and Impact to really carry the game home. And for TSM, it's really always been Wild Turtle and Bjergsen, maybe a little bit of Lustboy. But these are the 2 players of each team that really need to step up and understand what they need to do to make their team work.
Right, so Zhao just do what he does best, get those farming pants on, and
he never takes them off.
Yeah, exactly. What am I thinking? He never takes them off. The teams are about to head into Champ Select, so we're going to throw it over to the caster desk. On the way, Impulse's coach Fly says he's not immune to feeling the pressure before a game, big or small.
저는 큰 경기가 아니라도 그냥 경기 전날이면은 좀 잠을 잘 못 드는 것 같아요. 저는 뭐 이번에도 큰 경기인데 좀 당연히 떨리고 좀 많이 걱정을 합니다.
It's pretty funny because Rush definitely does not get nervous at all. He was in the champion lobby before the game, and he added 4 bots for his team, and he was like, "I'm ready, guys. 4 bots, best team I've ever had."
Just
He's in very good spirits.
Meanwhile, everyone else is flaming each other in Danish. That looks like Lustboy learned a little bit in the TSM house, so he's talking about people's moms and stuff. It's pretty good. Overall, I think these teams ready to go. Seems like they're pretty loose and ready to rock in this one. Once again, Santorin not allowed Sejuani. Impact not allowed the Rumble.
Comps when they try more focused strategies rather than the kiting back split up.
Sivir not something you
and
would
they're
typically
not first
pick.
picked. So yeah, exactly. They're not first picked. So.
This is pretty funny, just because normally in best of series you ban away what beats you and then you pick away some of their champions, whereas Impulse ban away what you won with and pick away what you beat is what they've done so far.
And yeah, and it just goes back to Xiao in the first game. So many mid laners are just unwilling to play against Urgot. A lot of teams just ban it out when they're on the red side. But not only did he have Impulse not ban out Urgot in the first game, he didn't even build armor in the laning phase. And he was just like, okay, whatever you got, Bjergsen, let's go.
And he survived the lane. He got up in CS because of a gank from Rush, and life was good. You're seeing, though, Team Solomid are switching up their picks and bans a little bit here. Looks like we're going to see Gragas versus Santorin with the other junglers left open. Rush, though, still to play Nunu, and a lot of this champions still the same for Impulse.
Tank team coming in pretty strong here. There's also a chance that Apollo could be playing Urgot. Urgot's a mid laner or an AD carry, and they still have the ability to flex that if they want to.
Very true. TSM also very flexible themselves with the Lulu pick. Now, I would not want to see Bjergsen on it because that would cut off one of their biggest strengths, but technically, they could still flex it.
All right, well, late game insurance is going to be here. Thresh picked up for Lustboy, going to send Lulu to a solo lane for sure, and the Jinx is here for Wild Turtle, so Death said late game insurance, and here it is.
Yeah, I also do really like the switch over to Gragas here for TSM, because you know that Impulse are going to just charge at your face, right? So splitting them up. We saw how effective Meteos ults were with Gragas yesterday. When you can split the team in half, it's very hard to do, but if you can split the team in half and get the damage on the backside and pop somebody forward, if you've got a Lulu buffed Jinx, then you can make quick work of the front line.
Well, we'll see if that front line holds up right away. Last 2 champions committed is going to be AD carry Urgot and top Kennen, I'm guessing now, for Impact versus we expect Lulu, but the Karthus does come through for Xiao.
Something that they've been keeping in their back pockets ever since they broke it out in the LCS in week 7.
Yeah.
That is...
Or is it a no.
Yeah.
Top Nautilus, support Kennen. I feel like that's not the way Impact wants to do it here. Team Solomid now to make their last choice. We know it's going to be a solo lane Lulu somewhere. And Lustboy is scaring me by hovering top laners.
Well, so it's probably going to be back to basics here for TSM with Dyrus on a supportive top, Wild Turtle on a hyper carry threat, and then Bjergsen on a playmaker. The question will be, can he make the plays against a passive farming Xiao?
Yeah. A lot of this right now, to me, is hinging on an amazing Gragas ultimate knocking Kennen and Karthus back. Gragas has been one of the very strong counter picks to Karthus for a long time, but now he's got so many AoE charging people he's trying to knock back out of the team fight. You know, is he going to be able to get both of those with one ultimate? Seems like it'll be very difficult.
Yeah, definitely going to be a bit of a threat. Of course, you still have the Nautilus ultimate, the follow-up from Kennen. Maybe you land the stun before you can drop the ulti off of this one. And definitely a bit of a threat. Now, this is a slightly less mobile team from Impulse. There's no Sivir anymore, so the disengaged tools of Solomid will be a bit stronger. And as the Des mentioned, they wanted a proactive threat on Bjergsen. He gets Ahri now.
It's a far more TSM-like team composition for these guys. Wild Turtle and TSM were the early adopters of Jinx in the LCS, and it has shown success for them pretty much every time they played it, as well as Bjergsen already having success with Ahri against Impulse in the regular season. It is a playmaking type team for TSM that they should be very comfortable with.
Yeah, it does put pressure on Bjergsen, though. They need him to get a solo kill on Xiao.
Well, he's done it before. We'll see if he can do it against Karth as an assassin mid laner versus one who just wants to farm and has basically no kill pressure.
Yeah.
But you never
That
know.
ultimate, though, he's going to hit level 6.
Cross-map kill pressure, though.
I mean, with how much Rush runs around the map and tries to make things happen, I think Requiem is absolutely useful here. We'll see if there's maybe some charm out plays on the backside of that one. Either way, guys at home, who do you think's going to win? Is Team Impulse going to build on the momentum in Game 2? Let us know. Send your picks for this series with either hashtag TIP win or hashtag TSM win to @LOL Esports. We'll be updating the fan vote shortly. It'll be in the bottom during the game. There'll be pretty numbers. There's going to be some blue, some red. Guys, here we go. Game 2, Impulse up 1-0. TSM looking for a comeback.
We talked about TSM having a team comp that is very TSM-like. Impulse is just changing total strategy, it seems like, between games. This is a very impulsive-looking team composition where they can really work around Impact's strength in the top lane if he gets ahead of Dyrus, and use Rush's ability to start fights to maybe just pressure and try and steamroll through the map. It is a very grouping-focused team right here from Impulse when we get into team fights. A lot of circles on that Team Impulse team of damage.
I'm just, in my mind, not sure it will work. TSM with a lot of kiting tools. Ahri ulti, Gragas ulti, Lulu, even Threshbox helps a lot. So we'll have to see how this does get played in the team fights. Eyes on Bjergsen, you guys mentioned. Eyes on the Gragas ultis as well. Really, level 1s is just a defensive line of wards. The wards get their feet wet. I actually like, by the way, that the warding totems, they're kind of like little plants. So it's nice that the players put them in the river so they can grow big and strong and absorb water from the ground.
Is that so?
Yeah. It's really kind to the players.
It doesn't rain on Summoner's Rift ever anymore.
It's true.
Or snow. That's kind of sad.
Climate change has been halted.
Minions has spawned.
Ice caps not melting. All is well.
No global warming in Summoner's Rift.
Nope.
All right, another defensive line of wards here for TSM, though, as you mentioned. And this time around, it looks like the swap will be called, as both AD carries starting up on the top side.
Interesting. Okay.
Supports soon to follow.
Looks like a bit of a leash. Wild Turtle going to help out his jungler. No big deal. A couple more autos. Oh, Adrian's here. What up?
Oh, Adrian has walked into some friends.
Unless Boyd doesn't even try hitting him back. He's like, yeah, just get away. It's fine, some damage.
Well, this scouts the open very clearly of Santorin, which...
Rush is like, Santorin, you're topside, huh?
And the blue if he goes.
Funny thing about that.
Yeah, he started red buff, actually. Rush without a leash. Rushes the red buff down. Did use smite, but he's going to go for this blue right now.
This is a total predictive game right here from Santorin, though, and it would be a very risky guess for him to then try and invade the enemy blue buff. So this is a very real possibility of Rush getting some powerful counter jungling in on Santorin. I wonder if he's going to take even more camps than just the blue buff. Santorin's trying to rush over there.
Yeah, I actually thought Santorin might do the 3 red side jungle camps, then go crab to get health back and go for a gank, but since he's heading over to the blue side,
but where
Rush
did
gained
Rush
advantage.
Go? Santorin vision.
He's got smite on both sides, so who's going to win the smite war? It's going to be Santorin.
That's pretty big. He hit level 3 off that. Now he can rush and kill him.
And Dyrus helping with Glitter Lance as well. 300 health flash used, but here comes Santorin as well. Impact doesn't have any AoE on this one, and Rush will go down. First blood to Santorin.
Impact going to take a little damage on the exit as well. Rush staying a bit too long in the enemy jungle this time around. And we finally see the flip side of the aggressive play.
Live and die by the aggressiveness of Rush right there. And he was going for the home run. He already stole the blue. He was hoping to steal the Gromp as well. If Santorin had not been able to close that smite off, he would not have been able to get that kill because Rush would have been the level 3. What an
Santorin,
insane change of events.
Santorin also saw the red buff on Rush, but still went toward the red buff. So a little bit of wasted time there as he passes through the mid lane. But now they're looking to keep up the countering jungling here, and they're headed back into Rush's jungle. Santorin body slams fearlessly over the wall because it is their strong side now.
Hook lands,
He knows
Blaze
he has
gonna
no flash.
follow the choppers as well. Rush has nowhere to go on this one. Body slam hits the flash from Adrian to buy some time. Summoner heal by Apollo. Exhaust comes in, TPs as well. Santorin now on the wrong side of this fight. He does not have flash right now, and Lustboy gonna get chased down. Wall of Pain and a Q from Xiao to get the kill. Down goes Santorin, and Wild Turtle slowed by the inhibitor turret. Who's gonna get him?
Dyrus literally just teleported back to lane as well.
Oh, God.
So that's why Impact showed up, but not Dyrus.
So, let this be a lesson to everyone. Invading junglers is a dangerous game. It's backfired now for both teams when they're trying to make a power play. The main difference right there is the fact that Xiao had the lane in a place where he could roam back into the jungle and Bjergsen could not follow.
His jungle.
Yeah, it's his own jungle. When Lustboy landed that hook, it seemed like a great idea, but you could really tell Impulse had this plan.
Look at Dyrus. He teleports right now from the base.
He teleported after?
Yeah, he teleported after Impact started channeling his teleport. So that could have been an answer teleport as well. But they decided that the mid lane roam was too much, and they couldn't salvage the situation. Because it was in Xiao's side of the jungle and he had roamed over first, Bjergsen maybe made the call there. So might not have been even Dyrus's call.
All right. Well, be that as it may, the invade from TSM gives up 2 kills to 1, and if you want to count that a bonus death as Wild Turtle got executed, no gain on those, no XP or gold on that, so no big deal. Impact, though, continuing to pressure very heavily onto Dyrus. Even though Dyrus TP'd into the lane and had a little bit more time to get some farm here, it's a gold deficit for Dyrus.
And double buffs on Impact. Even with the level disadvantage, he's going to try and punish this. It's so crazy that Rush's early invade backfired, but then TSM gave it right back. And we're just kind of back into the game. Rush is behind a little bit now based on where he wants to be, but it's still back to an even game. Impact is really harassing Dyrus here with these double buffs.
And this is standard Team Impulse sort of style. They've got Impact on a big playmaking top laner. Smite, TP, Shyvana or not, they've got Kennen, a big damage source in the top lane here. One that will be hard for TSM to play around. You're seeing Impact try to zone this guy out.
level 6.
Oh, Requiem's up to use it really early on. It's going to be Wild Turtle. The focus, of course, his flash used now to try to get away, and it's going to let him get out.
Up. Too late.
Well, they didn't get any kills. This is precarious, to say the least.
Ari setting up.
What a game.
Yeah.
Gonna walk. Oh! Good bottom slam. Adrian puts the shield on, but takes a whole lot of punishment. A couple more attacks. Nice anchor toss.
What is
and now
happening?
Lustboy toss the lantern for Santorin. They're gonna go in. They flay back Adrian. Get excited because there's a kill for Wild Turtle. The hook onto Apollo, but in comes Xiao. Bjergsen's joined the party, and Exhaust comes onto Wild Turtle, meaning he's gonna drop as well. And it's yet another 2-for-1 in the favor of Team Impulse.
Thoughts, chat?
Yeah, this game is very impulsive right now. This is not the standard type of laning phase into playmaking you'd want to see out of TSM in a textbook game. This is madness.
Out of everything that happened there, one of the most surprising things was that the Karthus actually got there and had a bigger impact.
He keeps walking to places before Bjergsen can get there.
And before he started walking, he had to channel Requiem. So he's standing still for the full channel Requiem and then starts walking up there.
And this is so different than the Bjergsen and Xiao we have seen in the regular season. Xiao in the regular season had the highest CS at 10 and 20 minutes, but the lowest kill participation, whereas Bjergsen had a high CS differential as well as some of the highest kill participation, so he was kind of doing both. But this time, Xiao is definitely aiding the rest of his team substantially more, both in the Orianna game and now on Karthus, with 2 walking roam kills on him.
Absolutely great play by Xiao. The late season, you're definitely seeing the glimpse of what made him so great last split as well. The defending MVP. Xiao's got to feel pretty darn good about all this. Impulse sitting right now at the smallest of gold leads, 600 right here. Standard lane still. The minion farms kind of balancing out across all the roles.
Yeah, except the AD carry role. This is a big problem for TSM. Wild Turtle was level 3 when Xiao was 6. Now he's 3 levels behind the mid lane and just now hitting 5, where Apollo's almost about to level up on him. And Urgot used to be known as an 80 carry killer, not an 80 carry for himself. Add that to the fact that Wild Turtle is supposed to be the late game threat. This dude's sitting on 37 CS, 9 minutes into the game, with 2 Doran's rings. He is not going to carry the game.
He didn't go as far as to get rings, but...
Yeah, sorry, Doran's blade.
That would be a little excessive.
I can't even hit him. I gotta use my AP ratio on Flame Choppers.
Flame Choppers.
Great. Maybe he ran AP Mastery. He's a Spellblade, you know, helping a little bit. Either way, Rush now in the enemy jungle. Where else would he be? Clearing away a pink ward, wants to deny some of this vision. Right now, there are no lanes to gank. There is a dragon on the field, and Impact is winning the bottom lane, but I don't know how soon he's going to be taken down. Right now, Impulse just playing a strong laning phase. Bjergsen is unable to push around Xiao, so Karthus farm. So far, so good, I guess.
The other thing about Turtle being so underfarmed is Turtle is the attack damage threat. Everybody else is magic damage for this TSM team. If Turtle is sitting on double Doran Blade, then Nunu could build pure magic resist, get that Aegis early. Already Impact is going with... Darius seems to be caught here.
Blink in from Adrian. There comes a bunch of Acid Hunters and good pullback, but Darius will buy a little more time. Pops the ulti on. Absolute zero out of the turret. Brings his health to almost the same number, and Apollo gets the kill.
And now we want to watch the other version of this. Impact snuck away from the turret, and TSM doesn't see him there.
You are kidding me.
And he's soaking experience this whole time, too.
Oh my god, he's going to recall. All right, turret's going to go down.
He might actually... Oh no. If Wild Turtle walked back towards him.
Turret goes down. Oh, goes up towards Dragon.
Dodged a bullet there.
Yeah.
The mind games right now.
Oh, man. All right, but TSM, they're looking for Dragon off this one, of course. They pressured the bottom lane. They got the turret, and Impulse did not, by the way. So it's a kill versus a turret and looks like a Dragon right now. So Team Solomid, I think, getting the better of that overall trade.
Dragon control against Nunu, extremely important, as we've already seen in the first series. So very good start, yes, for TSM there, just to get the first one, not only for the percentage bonus that will actually not have a big effect for a little bit longer, but looks to be an answer.
No
from
flash
Impulse.
on Lustboy.
Oh, he missed though, but Wild Turtle's going to be in trouble.
Matter.
So is Lustboy. Backwards play. Zap helps a nice ulti from Gragas, but it's still pretty close. Summoner heal used. In comes Requiem. One last Ice Blast gets him the kill. Xiao not required. Requiem, no assist.
Oh, wow, yeah, that Ice Blast. It would have actually been better if Rush didn't use that, but because Apollo did the last Acid Hunter, it ends up being a bit of a wasted Requiem. And overall, these trades, even though they look very advantageous for Impulse, like getting the kill onto Dyrus, didn't necessarily help them out on a team. They heavily commit on the bottom side, losing turret pressure mid. They've already lost the turret bottom lane. If TSM can make up for these early deaths by getting turret pressure and then gaining map control, they wouldn't be that far behind.
I mean, they really need the mid turret to go down if that's what it's going to take for Bjergsen to start roaming. Because Bjergsen has to affect this game. Once he takes this turret, TSM can open it up, get some ward coverage around the mid lane, and hopefully for TSM's sake, Bjergsen can use his Spirit Rush and actually get a kill somewhere.
And he has knocked that turret down. And you know, we mentioned the other members of TSM real quick. Dyrus, despite getting bullied around a lot, is completely equal with Impact in CS here. So, okay, there we go. All right. Skill shots against monsters, you know. It's a taste what junglers have with
Juke's
Scuttle
better
Crab.
than most players, apparently.
We saw people
Slowly in one
flashing
direction.
on the Scuttle Crab yesterday, so
That's
this
true.
is the least of the neutral monster jukes.
It's crazy that Impulse is down 2 turrets to 0, but still up in gold because of their 3-kill advantage. This means there's a lot of unclaimed gold by Impulse on the map, so if they get any other kills and can somehow transition those into objectives, it will kind of leapfrog TSM in gold a little bit.
Well, absolutely. There's definitely a lot of risk of Impulse breaking this game wide open, but at the time, Team Solomid can maybe consider themselves in the driver's seat. Top lane being pushed around a little bit. Bjergsen really wants to make something aggressive happen. They know blue buff has been taken, but they still want to invade over here. Maybe they... Oh, nice wall of pain. Xiao sniffs it out. And this pink ward will be killed off. Okay. Let's see. Ward goes down. Crowd's excited. Yeah, we know. Wards are exciting. It's how you win games in League of Legends. If only people in solo queue were so excited about them, I'd win a lot more games. And Rush gets himself a red buff.
Definitely seems that way. The early game of this match being insane. And Impact's...
Can he make another escape? He's got flash.
4 people this time.
Early flash out his charm and flay. Really nice play.
But again, a turret. Every time TSM provides pressure onto Impact, they're getting turrets for Wild Turtle to take down. With that commit right there, Impulse wants to take 2 turrets for it.
Well, bot lane outer does go down to pretty much just Apollo down here. Dyrus not able to defend. Mid lane pressure now the question as well, but there's no damage on it at all. Instead, Team Impulse heading over towards the blue buff to steal it. But top lane tier 2 is getting hit right now.
So Bjergsen makes his first real roam, and they get out-traded on turrets, they lose their blue buff.
Yeah.
Not the best first roam.
They got a flash for it, but you definitely got to consider Impulse got more out of this.
Yeah, you have to give a lot of credit to Impact.
Yeah.
As far as the top laners go, being left on their own, hey, deal with your own situation. Impact keeps finding ways to survive.
You got to kill on the other side jungle and then dodge 2 ganks. Yeah. I'm a pretty big fan. All right, so it's just a small 400 gold once again for Team Impulse. The kills haven't changed in a while. The turret kills have been trading back and forth 1 for 1 a couple of times here.
And Wild Turtle is level 7.
Oh, bro.
So first off, he's support level. Second off, he's not looking at his screen when he walks out between bushes. Those are both big problems for TSM. And it is overly so on Bjergsen priority rise right now. He is the only level 11 member, the only person who has double digits for levels on TSM. Whereas Impulse has threats from many different angles. This is almost too much for Bjergsen to take on. Either Dyrus or Wild Turtle or Santorin need to start making some plays for the team, because Impulse is focusing so heavily on Bjergsen. Instead of getting damage on the mid lane turret, they took blue buff because they wanted to make sure that Bjergsen could not get that to pressure.
And it seemed like so far they're keeping him from doing very much here. The minions farm honestly fairly close. It's in the 160s for both mid laners, so Xiao, of course, is keeping up. TSM, to their credit, are pushing in mid first, so they can actually dictate where Xiao goes. But even with Xiao staying in mid after Bjergsen, there's still nothing happening from the TSM mid lane. It looks like now pressure is going to be on the bottom side of the map. The red buff getting a few wards here. And Dragon, of course, up in 37 seconds, so Team Solomid may be looking at Dragon number 2, and this is what their goals are.
Using Fog of War, if they have vision control in the Dragon area, to allow Bjergsen to land a charm, and then splitting people up in the Dragon Pit with a Gragas ultimate would be a way for Team Solomid to get back in this game. It's all about whether Impulse can prep this Dragon properly and approach from the right angle to not get separated from Gragas. This is a really good spot for TSM to fight, and they are there before Team Impulse.
Ooh, Impulse sniffs it out just a little bit and says, you know what, let's go mid lane. Oh, we see some of TSM. The sweeper lets him spot a couple of TSM first before they go on in. Wave clear from the side. Bjergsen takes the snowball.
While both top laners do have teleport, Impact does not have flash, which is a huge part of the Kennen ultimate.
Oh, wow.
So he's going to have a really good teleport. The placement of that ward inside the brush.
Oh, Charm's gonna hit a lot of damage. Zap misses though. Couple of crucial damage not hit there by Wild Turtle. Team Impulse though, not willing to stay in the mid lane. Out they go.
Yeah, this is TSM using their map control right now from taking that mid lane turret earlier on in the game. One thing they do have going for them this game is that Dragon control, so we'll see if this forces a fight.
Team Impulse once again going to walk forward. Hook on to Adrian, one of the tankiest members on the team. In comes the box, a lot of damage. A 4-man knockup from the ulti of Nautilus, and here comes Requiem. No one will stop this one. Ulti right off the bat towards Dyrus. That teleport was fatal for the TSM top laner. Bjergsen now trying to run away. Looks like nothing happening for the Apollo ulti. It was knocked back by Santorin. A 1-for-1. Good juke on the charm.
Bjergsen out of mana. They cannot continue with this Dragon fight.
Tense Dragon fights right there. Dyrus not picking a good spot to teleport into. Impulse easily able to pick him up and kill, which equalized that fight greatly. Credit to Santorin for saving Bjergsen with that Gragas ultimate, but outside of that, it was a turret trade, or sorry, a kill trade, mainly due to Darius' poor TP positioning.
Yeah, teleport fit for a Maokai or a Scion, not one for a Lulu. Great reaction, of course. Impact the immediate ulti on one man to know he'd get the kill.
It's time to cancel your TP when that happens, man.
Absolutely agree.
No flash necessary. We're right
Yeah.
next to each other. All right, here's the return to the dragon. Still up.
No Karth Assault this time. All ultimates
Or
actually down
cannon.
for Impulse.
Oh, a lot of damage. Impact is nearly going to die, but Bjergsen cannot chase it out. Into the back line goes a whole bunch of pain, and Darius one hit away. Wild Turtle chased down by Rush, the exhaust, and the heal to keep him alive a bit longer. A nice hook from Lushboy gets the kill to Wild Turtle, and it will be the dragon picked up, but Impulse on the runaway.
Oh, they're going to have to worry about Bjergsen cutting them off.
Wallopin buys some time, hooks in.
Bjergsen has flash, but no ult.
Charm hits Apollo, down he goes!
The ult's coming up real soon for Bjergsen. I think it's up. He's going for
Oh,
it.
dodge! He tries to get impact, he will! A 3-kill fight for Team Solomid. As payment for a dragon, they're back in this.
There's the plays from Bjergsen we were looking for. Picks up a couple of kills. They did lose the dragon. Now, I think that Team Impulse have to change their style up a little bit due to the team that they've drafted. Kennen is one of the most ult-reliant champions in the game. Really, really weak without the ultimate. Plus, Karthus, a very long timer on his ultimate. Hard to go for that team fight again without those coming up. As you said, Bjergsen's ultimate comes back up while they're still fighting.
Yeah, and Impulse, all 5 champions on their team are without ultimates right now. Darius still had his, which is one of the things that delayed that fight a fair bit. Additionally, when Wild Turtle got that kill, it was a shutdown kill onto Rush, a substantial amount of gold that can make him a bit more of a carry threat moving into the late game.
Yeah, Rush also has to change his play style. He went for the flash back rub there with Nunu. Doesn't do a lot of damage, flashing in for auto attacks with that champion. He's so used to playing all these duelers.
Yeah, the Ice Black
Duelists.
is starting to get outscaled, I guess. Not buying ability power, so the damage output doesn't grow anymore. Wild Turtle finishing the Infinity Edge off that is going to be quite nice, and all the attack that you get for being Jinx means an uncontested Wild Turtle has really high DPS in a team fight here. Team Solomid definitely in the driver's seat now. What can they do with this lead they've got? So far, Impulse took it in a couple waves pushed in.
Yeah, the biggest thing TSM needs to do is maintain map control. I think keeping the mid lane turret alive for them is paramount. That's where they've been able to get most of their action off of. When they're fighting around the dragon, having that turret to retreat to is incredibly important, and it also just makes sure the waves stay slightly on the side of Team Impulse.
Yeah, they do need good vision to set up either picks for Bjergsen or that Gragas ultimate. That's going to get even more important the stronger Xiao Impact get. The longer this game goes, the more TSM will rely on the knockback.
So a lot of growth for these somewhat melee mages in a way, right? The circle spacing yourself, the Kennen ultimate, the Slicing Maelstrom, the Defile from Karthus. As they scale, as they get more damage, the counterplay still always exists for Team Solomid.
Wow, good reactions there to
Yeah.
be able to dodge Charm from Fog.
Oh, that one's going to hit, though. Adrian down to half health already. Wall of Pain comes out to buy some time. Anchor's not going to kick either. Pearson down to half, though. Good damage from Apollo.
Much of this will also come down to Santorin and his ult placement in team fights. It is a team that he needs to split up perfectly. He has to send Kennen out, he has to pull Urgot farther in, he has to send Karthus out. Sometimes he can't do all those things with one Gragas ultimate, but if he can split the team fights in the proper way, it could mean a pretty decisive win for TSM, since Impulse needs a lot of their people to be in one place, and they don't have many ways around the Gragas ult. It has to do on Santorin's ability to land that skill shot in the right place.
I want to see once this game, Impact or Xiao flashing the other side of it to get knocked in and then being called gods. That'd just be fun to see. We'll see if it happens or not. Either way, outplays are always fun to see in the playoffs. Either way, Team Solomid looking good with a 1,600 gold lead for themselves. They're even fighting inside Impulse's jungle. Top lane 2-2 under fire. Mid lane already got pushed out. Apollo on the other side of the map, and then Santorin even clears away some jungle camps.
Yeah, I mean, Apollo's on the wrong side of the map. The map pressure continues for TSM. I don't see how Impulse saves this turret.
Yeah,
They're not gonna.
Going, huh? Team?
Question mark? My wolves died.
Apollo realizes that he is on the wrong side of the map, and since the turret's forfeit pretty much at this point, there's no way he's making it over there. One more wave for him. Let's see what he completes on his back, though. That's the Hex.
Alright, so worried of the magic damage threat of Gragas and Ahri, although this time Wild Turtle, as you mentioned before, got that shutdown, so the physical damage threat does exist once more. Of course, Apollo will be getting a Frozen Heart, so just kind of varied resists we're seeing from this man. Last Whisper still not in inventory though, so the damage build still not done. Muramana Combine is through though. Just watching as Team Impulse continues to scale up with their various big AP carries and their caster AD. Wild Turtle still quite a bit away from his second big item though. He's got the Zeal, but with the second Doran's Blade, he's got another 500 gold to go on Phantom Dancer.
Yeah, this is overall TSM bouncing back fairly well from that game one. They do pride themselves on their ability to adjust, and even though the early game went in the favor of Impulse, TSM is playing the map much better right now, and they're even recovering Wild Turtle's farm. He's actually surpassed Apollo now in CS, which was not even close in the laning phase.
And that's crazy too, because it's not like they're donating farm one way or the other. There's no Impulse member who's like up 50 CS in their lane, so it's just TSM playing the map. Charm on a rush. They have to buy some time. Hook on a rush as well, in the pull towards the Nunu. Able to get away.
But now they're starting the Dragon control with Rush at half health. He's the one who needs to be some frontline zoning right here. This is a dangerous moment for Impulse. TSM getting the better of that poke engage.
Pack over the flank play though.
He does have flash.
Here's one hit from stun. Dragon is alive. Dyrus has made his way down to the rest of the team, it looks like. Impulse will take Scuttler at the very least, and they're now in position for the rest of this. Impact, I think he wants to stay off of the wings. Look for the flank play. Prey on this Jinx.
So Shuttlecraft speed is huge for these guys.
To re-engage, the thing is what Tip wants to do is they want to take Dragon, draw TSM in, and then have Impact flash in behind them while the Grog Assault was used for a steal attempt. But they can't take too much poke from the Dragon, and this is a tense situation.
Rush is already at half. Barrel's coming out for zoning powers. A nice Glitter Lance to buy even more time. It's 2 with it, impressively.
Good patience here from TSM. Not charging headfirst in. Able to wait it out. A little bit of extra damage dealt from Dragon there. And their pressure on the mid lane, enough to draw Impulse away from the pit.
Really nicely handled by Team Solomid. Mid lane pressure, and they got the Dragon control. Nothing to be said for Team Impulse. Well done, TSM. Bully out the Dragon.
Very well played. It is only Dragon 2 though, so not that important for either team. It definitely does take down the threat of the Nunu stacking, but all in all, good choices for TSM in the mid game.
Gotta say, it's been great. 2,000 gold lead for these guys. Impulse had started the game out with quite a bit in their control. This game was 6 kills to 3 at one point. TSM only equal in gold because of turret kills. Well, it turns out Impulse haven't been able to get any turret kills back themselves, and Solomid have found a number of good fights. Big items coming through there. Phantom Dancer is done for Wild Turtle, so he's going to chop through squishies easily. There are no armor tanks on Team Impulse, so a huge threat here from AD carry.
Neither are there armor tanks on TSM, and the Muramon transform has also come into play.
Yeah.
Plus, Rod of Age is fully stacked for Xiao.
Okay.
Still very close.
Yeah, both these teams have a lot of potential left within this game. Apollo, if he can ever actually swap Wild Turtle in, I know they use that one swap on Bjergsen, but if they swap in Turtle, then all their magic resist stacking matters, since he is the only physical damage threat, so that kind of becomes the priority for them in team fights, and then they might just hope to kill the other guys with all their AoE damage from Kennen and Karthus. I think that's how Impulse will want to play these team fights. It's only a matter of actually finding them. TSM are wizards sometimes of not taking bad fights and only taking good ones.
TSM trying to live up to the legacy. Oh, here goes Bjergsen looking for the solo kill. Does get the charm as he leaves with the
Doppers.
Ulti, good dodge, and in comes Impact. That's going to be Wild Turtle going down. Exhaust was used on him, but either way, Requiem still hits. Bjergsen down a half. Ignite is on from Adrian. Apollo swipes his swap him in. Explosive Cask might buy just enough time. Adrian will not get chopped out. Rush flashes in. He wants it, but Dyrus with the save. Wild Growth, and Rush now 300 health. Takes a summoner heal from Apollo. Adrian still limping low.
No one from Impulse dead, but Apollo the only person with a full HP bar.
These fights are so close. Every battle's like a 2-for-0, 1-for-0.
Always goes for the big play. I have to credit Santorin again in that fight for saving Bjergsen with a Gragas ultimate. As soon as Apollo starts channeling that, instead of waiting for the swap to go through and knocking Apollo in for a kill, he's just disengaging straight away, and it's reliably saved Bjergsen now twice.
Yeah, too bad he wasn't there for the Impact's charge. Save Turtle, as Turtle stood still to try and channel Jinx's ultimate and pick up the kill onto Xiao. Cost him his life, but also cost the flash of Kennen, which is so big.
TSM know they've removed all the ward control from Baron. They're daring tip to face check. Lustboy comes in, and goes Bjergsen as well. Charm gonna hit Adrian. That's a kill on Nautilus.
Challenge accepted.
Follow. Goodbye. Goodbye. 2 kills picked up. A hook on a rush as well. Be careful, Nunu.
Give TSM an inch and they will take everything from you right here. They knew they had the vision control. Their one advantage right there. They also saw Adrian was low with the ward, so they knew they could take a fight clean off, and they will continue this pressure, whether it be for more fights or for the Baron itself.
Team Impulse still wanted to try to contest this, though. It's a 3 versus 5. Wow, Xiao knocked right back into the team. Santorin is not going to take enough damage to die here, so just pick after pick after pick being grabbed here by Team Solomid. The duo lane will respawn from Team Impulse, and TSM give it the Baron attempt.
Yeah, there's a big wave bottom, so TSM, that's the only thing dissuading TSM from continuing to bait over and over and over. Big wave bottom, they sent Turtle over there to soak that up. So this Jinx getting to the late game now already has the crit multipliers. Dyrus ready to back him up with the shields. This is looking better and better here for TSM.
We do have a series on our hands, but here we go. Let's pick on the duo lane. Adrian very low. There he goes.
Not only does Bjergsen have the Spirit Rush charges, he gets to dash with the Dyrus speed as well. Obviously, right there, Adrian missed his Nautilus anchor. He kind of panicked when he saw that speedy Ari going towards him.
Yeah. You know, it's funny. Sivir got banned away by Team Impulse, but Righteous Glory's second item for Santorin after his Cinderhulk and the Sightstone gives the team all the movement speed they need to get these fights anyway. Solomid definitely looking very good here.
The veteran team looking to make finals yet again. They've made every single North American finals since the LCS began.
I mean, think about it. This was actually a very good semifinal last year. Of course, Team Impulse was known as LMQ. It was a very different roster, but these guys met, and it went to all 5 games, I believe, last time in the summer.
Xiao remembers.
Yeah, Xiao certainly remembers. Went to all 5 games, and he couldn't quite close it up against Bjergsen, so definitely a lot of fun in this battle. We're poised to have at least 4, but of course Team Solomid have a lot of work still to do if they want to win this game.
That's some speedy TSM, people.
Nice dodge there by Adrian. Righteous Glory ends. It only lasts 3 seconds, unlike Sivir, so you can see he dodged the first wave and out you go.
Well, the counter wall right there from Xiao was really important.
Yeah.
Only 3 points in Wall of Pain right now, but it was still enough to just cut right through that move speed and give Adrian a chance to juke the hook.
Good jukes overall. Mechanical skill definitely here on every team here in the top 4 of the North American LCS. Team Impulse have yet to find their way back in for a while, though, as they sit 3,500 gold down.
More vision plays from TSM.
Yeah, they just look for picks over and over again. Ari Thresh very good at this.
They know they have objective control. The mid lane turret actually still alive.
Wow.
Jinx is going to melt through Dragon here.
Easy pickup. AD carry jungler. Dragon number 3 to Team Solomid. 5% bonus move speed going to be a very big deal here.
Incredibly solid objective and map play there.
Impact breaks up the Bermuda Triangle of pink wards on Baron.
You know, I got to call out again. Dyrus completely holding up. Okay, you might have called a bad teleport or two, but he is holding up against Impact 1v1. Equal in CS. Shows up in the team fights for the most part. You know, saves Bjergsen the one time with the ulti. I know in pre-game on PTL, Kobe and I were like, all right, Impact, huge lead top lane is going to be the one big pressing point for Team Impulse. And right now, in this game, Impact is not having what his name would have you suggest.
Well, with his flash back up, he always has that opportunity. The gold is still sitting close, even though TSM has shown immense amounts of map control. Based on the gold, it doesn't look like this is going heavily in the favor of TSM, but just based on the vision control, and who gets to go where they want. TSM is calling all those battles, so unless TSM makes a misjudgment or unless Impulse really catches TSM off guard, it is TSM's game to lose at this point.
It absolutely is, and you're seeing the way they want to continue their lead and look for the win is steal the objective control game. Baron once again stymied though by a Scuttlecraft, but they're still trying to keep the vision control on this side of the river.
If TSM do not make a vision play though and pick somebody, it is getting very scary for them. The double Zonias have been completed for both solo laners on Team Impulse. And they're looking for the 5-on-5 on even ground. So it's all up to TSM to make sure they do not find that even ground. And
also,
to protect Turtle, of course.
Yeah, you also got to remember, Santorin a lot of times will just be trying to knock people around with his Gragas ultimate, and he's not just saving it for the Urgot swap. He's going to try and knock Impact and Xiao out of the middle of his team, but if they Zonias at the right moment, they will not have that disengage potential with the Gragas ult.
Or as Freak said, if they flash the Gragas ultimate
into the team and then Zonias.
Ooh, man.
Very tense.
Making me excited about this one. Don't have to be jinxed for this one. Team Solomid still playing around Baron, though. The Gragas wave clear actually helps them a little bit. The ability to crush down these minion waves from range is nice. Impulse, though, still really wants mid lane outer. Bjergsen standing on a ward from one of the two teams. I couldn't quite tell. But Impulse just immediately gets pushed out. TSM waits, says, all right, go one step forward, we catch you. And says, okay, you push wave in, clears it back. Impulse still nothing to do.
This is as even as the ground is, but TSM just has a massive poke advantage right now. Wild Turtle able to land some nice long-range shots, and then Bjergsen a charm or two, plus the Gragas barrels are both keeping the minion waves back and completely keeping Team Impulse at bay. That's one thing about Urgot as your AD carry position, you have very low siege.
The thing is, too, both teams have every single summoner available. So the next team fight that breaks out is going to be chaos.
It's just been so long since the last time they actually fought.
That's why everyone is just jockeying for position here, because it's all about the first pick, the skill shot to land. Thresh Hook, Ari Charm could change the name of this game.
Yeah. Well, Jat, you mentioned it sort of in game one where TSM's comp wasn't able to start fights, right? They had no engage tools. Impulses are really very obvious. It's like, all right, Nautilus ulti, which goes real slow and you can walk away from. Like, maybe you flash Urgot, but Gragas can stop, right? Gragas can disengage pretty much anyone. And so Impulse not able to start fights, and TSM wanting to play the pick game anyway.
Only wanting to start the right fight, because TSM actually does meet on even ground with Team Impulse, and Kennen and Karthus get inside their team. They're weaker in the team fight.
Yeah, so
it's a very delicate battle TSM has to play here.
Oh,
are you kidding?
Well, Adrian's on a ward. I think he knows that now.
Uh-oh. Couple of Impulse members in the mid lane. But TSM don't have any vision on the bottom side.
Now, Impulse are finally pressing the bottom lane as their advantage. They're like, okay, Impact, go try to push around Dyrus. You think he might be able to.
Bjergsen is also in the midst of a massive power spike. Level 16 plus a fourth major completed ability power item. He will crush people in team fights. He lands one charm on some of these guys, and he could maybe kill them before they can get off their Zonias.
Big risk. Oh, that pink ward doesn't see the ward in the back pit, but that ward is timing out in the next 4 seconds.
They know what TSM's objective is, though.
But
they're waiting it out
for Team Impulse. They realize that they know all about this. There we go. We see Rush looking at... Nope. Not going to try.
Is there a good ward for Impact to teleport on? These ones are dropping in mid lane here.
Hook comes in. Apollo in the wrong spot, trying to get away from this one. He will survive. Santorin knocks in the team, and already the AD carry is gone. Xiao pops his Zonias. In goes Impact as well, and he flashes in. What can he find? Bjergsen fairly low, but Impact gets shut out by the hook, and Adrian will follow as well. It's a 4-kill fight. The Requiem doesn't pick up anybody, and TSM crush it.
Patience is a virtue. TSM waits so long for that pick. Finally find it onto Urgot, take him out, and there's no effect from Urgot that entire fight, so that's going to be Baron.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the places where Xiao and Impact were in that fight, and it was not near the squishies of TSM. They were able to Kennen ultimate Santorin, and Xiao was able to get some damage on him, but he is the man who wants to take that damage, getting the catch on with Apollo. freed up Wild Turtle to free hit from the back as well. That is the TSM patience game paying off.
Yeah, with how close these two teams were, that charm right there just before the minion, followed up by the hook. If you are down a man in this mid-game team fight, it's so difficult to turn it around. Even with all this area of effect, Santorin's the only one standing in it. Impact has to flash forward, but the rest of Impulse are focused on Santorin there, and he does not care. Wild Turtle gets to freely fire from the back line. Dyrus with enough shields to keep him aggressive. 4 offensive item AD carry.
All that matters, they made it to the late game. Hyper carry threat for Wild Turtle right there. Really poor early game for him, but he was able to farm enough in the mid game. The team played around their strengths at just the right times.
And Solomid, for playing around those strengths, have built themselves a really commanding position here in Game 2. They got 4 turrets to 2. They've got 14 kills to 8. They're wearing a Baron buff. They're up 6,500 gold. Mid lane tier 2 gonna fall, make that a 7,000 gold lead. They're not done, of course. They've still got minions coming in. Recall's still coming for Impulse, means they will not defend the inhibitor in time.
Yeah. Them strike back here. Looking to take game number 2. Inhibitor down. Baron buff still up, and they can just rotate right down to bottom, pick up some extra gold. This gold lead ballooning after that one team fight for TSM. Can see why both teams were taking so much time prepping for that mid-game team fight. This is the swing that you get after it.
It's also the result of all the map control TSM held for so long finally paying off. The mid lane turret outer is still alive for TSM. That's how on the back foot Tip has been this entire time. Desperation engage. They might not make it in. Here they try.
Knockups in goes Impact. Tries to do what damage he can. Lustboy nearly falls down. The Polymorph doing a lot of work, but Apollo gets Santorin. Rocket comes out the back, and Wild Turtle's going to kill as many as he can. Apollo is his second death, actually, and TSM still on the better side of this fight. The Zap nearly takes down Adrian. This will be a turret.
And maybe even more. Xiao's a little bit low. There's still 4 people alive. This could be the game.
Well, that's going to be another kill picked up. Wild Turtle goes for the Zap. Doesn't quite pick up another kill, but it's going to mean the second inhibitor of this game. Adrian with home guard boots runs around really fast to nowhere. Impact, no cooldowns that are important. A charm misses, but Impact still goes down. A 4th kill, and that's the game. 41 minutes. Team Solomid fires back.
TSM chance coming through as they finish off the Nexus. This is why TSM prides themselves on their ability to adapt in the midst of a best of 5.
The entire team over like 1.5 times and drop the base down. That's very tenacious by TSM, especially considering, Jack, you mentioned like TSM needs the right fight. They can't just rush into a battle where they get just spammed by all these circle spells and get crushed by the double AP comp. Turns out TSM could find those battles even in a small amount of time.
TSM, at least as far as the North American LCS are concerned, are the masters of disengage. Lustboy, one of the best defensive support players we've seen. Santorin, really showing all that Gragas practice he's been doing, showing it off in this game. Pretty much always ulting the right people back in a fight. Not to mention Dyrus on Lulu, if he can survive that game, is a very good Lulu in the midst of a team fight. And it's going to be difficult for Impulse to actually engage on TSM throughout the series. It took 5 dragons, 6 dragons, and a Baron to do that in game 1, and they couldn't do it here.
I was actually kind of surprised that Impulse went back to the Nunu without a top lane smite character for Impact here. Rush without a buddy, you know, to actually influence both jungles early on in the game. I actually don't see them going back to this pick.
Yeah,
unless they again bolster it with Impact having his back.
Yeah, and Impulse, you know, they definitely have to go back to the book and, back to their strategies, find out what they want to do. I do want to talk about all the big successes of TSM, though. Bjergsen actually had the lowest kill participation that game on his team. Deathless, obviously a very good game by him. He won his lane a little bit, but it wasn't on the Bjergsen hard carry. It was on everyone else doing a damn good job of playing that game and getting the team fights they wanted. The hooks, the charms, getting the pickoffs. Definitely a great game by Team Solomid. Either way, they have tied up the series. Let's send it over to Dash and the guys on the desk for their thoughts on that game.
Thank you, Freak. And the first thing I want to touch on immediately, I want to look at team compositions because we heard Jat at the beginning of the game talk about how in best of fives, a lot of times, and Zion yesterday on the desk too, stick with what's been working until they beat it.
Yeah.
Well, they do stick with the Nunu here, but they change everything else. And I don't like that. If you are going to change the composition, then you do need to change it so that it is still cohesive in your new direction. I would have much preferred something like Vi, something that's more aggressive so that when you do have the Kennen come all in, the Nautilus ult come all in, somebody's dying.
Yeah, you won. Don't show more of your cards. They first picked the Urgot and they banned their own Sivir on TIP's side. It's like, why don't you just pick the Sivir and do another run at you comp with Shyvana top Smite TP again? Like, that seemed to be a good strat that TSM didn't know how to deal with 100%. Do it again. Like, that was what was really surprising to me. And also the Cassiopeia ban from TIP, like, I would have much rather see that be just subbed out for anything else. Like, even the Gragas, just so that Santorin is forced not onto one of those meta tanks. Ban Gragas and Sejuani, and then if you pick Nunu, you're going to out-tank him in the jungle.
Cassiopeia, somewhat of a confusing ban. If you're looking at it solely through the lens of TSM, Bjergsen has played it one time. He did play it pretty well in the regular season, but they did not win off of it. So I am, too, a little bit perplexed by the Cassiopeia ban. Can you explain? Can you give us a little reason behind that, Doublelift?
The only guess I have is from my personal experience playing against TIP, Xiao Xiao's main champion in scrims is TF, and Twisted Fate does pretty poorly in lane against Cassio. That's the only reason that I could possibly give, because, yeah, Bjergsen's only playing it once during the regular season. It seems really concerning that they're essentially throwing one of their bans for a champion they might not be so comfortable on.
Yeah, and it looked like they also, just going back to the team comp thing too, Nunu is not going to blood boil anybody on that comp and find success. You blood boil on Urgot, great. He moves a little faster, right? So one of those picks needs to be subbed out. Rush on something more aggressive, Rek'Sai, or like even Vi, something that he can like synergize with the Nautilus, or you swap out the AD carry and you go with something that can carry the game. You go with a Kog'Maw, you go with a Jinx. Anything would have been a good thing there.
Yeah, and I think critically this game, as I said before, or after game one, I should say, TSM picked a mid lane with a lot of playmaking ability and pressure with Ahri, and you saw TIP forcing a lot of shutdown on that, like trying to take away blue buff, trying to shut down Bjergsen. Really didn't work because Bjergsen just has so much control over mid lane. And then Wildshard on a hypercarry, he didn't actually even play early game very well. He fell far, almost like 30 CS behind, lost his tower. He was playing really poorly in the early game, but because of the nature of the strong champions right now, you can actually play really poorly for the first 15 or 20 minutes and just come back later and right-click people with 700 range. It's really hard to deal with when TIP also changed their strategy without having a challenging smite from a top laner. I mean, they just have no way to deal with a long-range hypercarry.
Yeah, TSM doing a much better job adjusting this time around. And they also punished Rush for his aggression this time. You know, although there was that 2-kill-to-1 trade in the top lane after that, a much better job protecting Santorin's jungle and putting him in a position to have pressure around the map.
Hey, when Santorin told me about he memorizes and visualizes Rush's jungle route, he caught him at the Grump, was able to get a kill on him there, and that was really big for TSM at the start. And then they kept picking on him, a little over-aggressive there, like you said, but they were keeping Rush down, and then Rush seemed to go into kind of, it was kind of tilty mode. Like he was tunnel vision. He was flashing walls. Like
the blood boil
himself, run past everybody to just flash a wall after Bjergsen, who just gets saved. It's like complete tunnel. That's the most aggressive play I've seen from a Nunu.
Yeah. If he were Vi, maybe it would have worked. Maybe he would have killed her.
Maybe it would have.
I think the main thing about players like that is they're not used to being behind. Rush is almost always playing with an advantage. So when he falls behind, there's two different situations I find pro players fall into. It's either they shut down completely or they continue to play as if they're ahead because it's all they know how to do. So Rush, I feel, is one of those players that just continues to play as if he's ahead, regardless of whether or not he's ahead.
Yeah, and it bit them a little bit because TSM was comfortable waiting for the right pick to start a fight. And I do want to bring up our replay 38 minutes in. This is that mid lane team fight. Charm lands on Apollo, and that's TSM's sign for we've taken over this game.
Yeah, as soon as they get Apollo, he's the only physical damage threat here, and Santorin's been stacking magic resistance. He has his locket, he has his Merc treads. So then his job, Santorin, is to get into everybody, soak as much damage as possible, and get Xiao out of the fight, try to keep impact as well. So you're going to see him barrel Xiao off to the side after the chompers. He gets no damage on anybody here, and he starts focusing him out. Bjergsen doesn't take any damage from the lay waste, from the defile. Santorin's the only one. He's standing and he's taking no damage there, and he's completely fine.
And then he chases him out afterwards. Ulted Gragas.
Yeah.
It's just
He's
insanity.
just a wall.
He's still over half health here. Just incredible zoning potential for him. I do like that pick up for him, definitely giving that front line, and as we mentioned, allowing then Bjergsen and Turtle to feel comfortable laying down that damage in the mid to late game.
Yeah, I think you might have to ban the Gragas here instead of the Cassiopeia as TIP, or let the Sivir through first pick it and ban the Gragas, because I feel like if Rush doesn't play it, you need to get as many tanks off the field as possible, so you level it out, and you're just like, all right, Santorin has to play my aggression game, and I'll beat him at it.
This is an interesting point here, Double F, that I want to ping you for, because the teams are staying on these side choices for this third game, right? It altered between games 1 and 2, but it's staying the same for game 3. So Team Impulse doesn't have the benefit of being able to counterpick that mid lane, which is what we've kind of arrived at might be the hinge of this series. What can they do then? You know, if they're going to drop the cast ban to let Zhao be in a position to deal with an Ahri, an aggressive Ahri, and a roaming Ahri.
Yeah, I actually thought Xiao did actually a decent job this game. He played a global, and that's almost all on the sidelines to make him useful, as well as Twisted Fate, one of his other main champions. It's just really on your sidelines to set up the play for you. And I never really thought of Xiao as a real carry of TIP. Yes, he gets really farmed. Yes, he cleans up late game teamfights because he's really farmed, but he's almost never the one making the play himself and initiating. So Xiao to me is not a player on TIP that I would like to see get the counter pick. Instead, I'd like to see Impact I guess have a little more impact in this next game instead of just idling in the sidelines on Kennen and not really doing much, as well as Apollo. Urgot with Blood Boil is a really mismatch in synergy, and I didn't see him do anything that game either.
Yeah, and the Karthus pick with the global, he almost had a lot of kills early on when they dove the top turret, but if that Nunu had been a Vi or had been something with more damage early, he would have just snowballed that Karthus very early on. I thought that could have been the game-changing moment very early for TIP.
All right, well, the series is tied 1-1. We definitely have an exciting one on our hands. We're going to take a break while the teams regroup for Game 3 between Team Solomid and Team Impulse. Don't touch that browser. The spring playoffs. We'll be back shortly. What we were touching on before the break was synergy in picks for Team Impulse because they seemed a little disjointed coming through that champion selective game too.
Yeah, and in the first game, which I felt they were wildly successful, they had Nunu with Shyvana and Sivir, where you have two good Blood Bowl targets and a really, really strong split push threat with Shyvana that keeps TSM from getting vision and getting the picks that they want that you saw in game 2, where they're going for charms, they're going for hooks, they're getting a lot of pick and poke because they're able to group up, get vision, and do what they want to do. So I would like to see TIP have more synergy than they had in game 2 in picks so they can keep TSM a lot more disjointed and have their comp make a lot more sense.
Yeah, and I also want them to drop the Cassio ban for the Gragas and throw off the synergy of TSM's comp because TSM, when they run frontliners, they have a lot of success, and that's kind of the bane of TIP that we've been seeing, is if they have people up in their face who are going to soak their damage, they don't fare very well in the team fights.
TSM success, we've talked a lot about Bjergsen, Wild Turtle, Santorin, but let's remember too the other two members of the team, Lustboy and Dyrus, and what their roles are when it comes to success in this best-of-5 series.
Yeah. Lustboy had been controlling the vision immensely that game. His hooks, he was the person starting most of the fights for them off of those skill shots, and he allowed them to play those pick games and the baits that they were pulling off later on when they were dancing between pink wards and they were out-rotating TIP. So he just needs another repeat performance. Wasn't broken, don't fix it for this next game.
Yeah, and just going off that, I just feel like TIP needs to play what they did to win and force TSM to show that they can beat it. I mean, TSM hasn't even shown that they can defeat the comp that they're running in Game 1, so why would you change anything? In Game 3, I fully expect them to go back to their Game 1 roots.
All right, well, as we send it over to the casters, Team Impulse will have to shake off that last game, and their coach Fly says he does his best to keep the team morale up.
당연히 그 죽으실 때 팀 분위기가 많이 다운되는 걸 느끼잖아요. 그 상황에서 선수 개개인에게 어떤 얘기를 하면은 그 기분이 바뀔까를 생각하고 얘기를 해주려고 노력은 많이 해요. 근데 제가 영어를 잘 못하기 때문에 참 어려운 것 같아요. 그런 식으로 노력을 하고 있어요.
Morale definitely very important. We've seen many teams crumble after their first loss or their first two losses, and Team Impulse certainly, we've seen how good they can be as a team bouncing back. Definitely big for these guys.
Yeah, I want to see how they adjust to this one. We saw the guys talking on the desk. I know that they did win with the Nunu Shyvana double jungle in the first game. I don't think Rush is going to play Nunu again. I don't think he likes that champion. I think he was playing it for the power. Because it didn't work, it gives him a perfect excuse to go back onto something like Lee Sin, that he played against TSM in both of the regular season games and will allow higher pressure, more aggressive, risky style from Impulse.
Well, it's still going to be this Cassiopeia coming through either way. The risky style, the aggressive style allowed for Team Impulse, as they are going to pick up Sivir for themselves, but they do push Dyrus off of Lulu.
And they mouse over Rush's favorite champion. Yes, Lee Sin. With the first pick of the Sivir here, though, I think it does open the door back up to the exact strategy that they used in the first game. So now it's up to TSM to actually construct their real answer, their final answer to the Sivir rushdown with a large frontline comp with a TP Smite. Gragas is definitely a really big part of that. The disengages were huge last game. And we'll see if Santorin can have a repeat performance.
Yeah, his Gragas has been exceptional.
Like, oh, you mean this champion?
Yes, I really like the Lulu ban as well there by Impulse, just to push Dyrus onto something else straight away. Even if they were able to kill him early, he just farmed up and was a supporter in later game fights.
Yeah, true. Gotta see what else Dyrus can do in this champion. Lulu seems to work with their lax top focus from TSM. Of course, he had held up just fine in the 1-on-1 before. Impulse, we want to see what they're able to pick for themselves in this one. Solomid not showing anything new so far, and they've left both solos up for grabs, so Impulse maybe not wanted to blind pick either of these matchups.
Taking their time on these, but yeah, Rush back on Lee Sin. Adrian, he had been playing Nautilus pretty well, but one thing we noticed with his Nautilus initiations, the delayed nature of it, when it was a telegraphed onto this target and TSM ran back and then could get disengaged by the Gragas ult. The Leona ult is much faster, and it's something that Impulse is able to act on. That's one of the main strengths of their team.
Yeah. Plus, we saw a couple canceled autos, and Leona, you don't have to cancel because you can Q. It resets your auto. You're gonna get the stun off for melee range. So every split second counts with Team Impulse because they initiate so quickly. Leona does seem like a nice speed upgrade.
Yeah, honestly, I think Impulse, this duo lane right here they pick, is the best duo lane I've seen them play as players and as a team overall. This Sivir Leona going to be strong. TSM, no Lilyfine will play Maokai, no big deal. And Wild Turtle playing a new look, looking to win lane with Lucian here.
I feel like a Vlad pick in the top lane against Darius' Maokai could be likely. Definitely not. They're going with TF. Oh boy.
Here's a strategy that they wanted to run all along since the quarterfinals. Gravity Band, Twisted Fate away every single time. Impulse is going to get that mid lane Twisted Fate. That's where the Casio Band came through.
Flash Ghost already from Xiao. Switching over very quickly. Let's see how well Impulse use this global map pressure. Not only do they have Twisted Fate to create picks, but Sivir can boost up the rest of the team to follow up on those picks. Yeah. So it's not going to just be one pick. They pick somebody off, and then they chase you down for a whole lot more.
Rush is going to be jumping around everywhere as well. Like, that is a really scary pressure team composition. It is very much what Impulse is built to do as a team, just from a player perspective, not even a champion perspective, but now the champions fit it too.
Thing is, TSM are built to counter this.
Yep.
But mid lane focus. What you do against TF is you attack him early with the jungler. Gragas, even though it's a Cinder Hulk jungler, does have early pressure. So the old Santorin-Bjergsen duo, this synergy, that's what needs to come back up for TSM. They need to go back to their roots to try and take down Impulse.
Yeah, the LeBlanc Gragas is maybe the scariest duo mid you could have in the game right now. LeBlanc oftentimes, she wins lane because she has such amazing gank assistance. Ganking for that lane is incredibly easy. They can combo off each other so well. Xiao has to be very cowardly in that lane early on, it almost feels like. And this should be a really great matchup.
All right, it's going to be a whole bunch of fun. Then Bjergsen looking to disrupt Xiao's Twisted Fate, a champion. He's only very rarely been allowed to play here in the LCS playoffs. Darius' second string top lane going to be Maokai. We can see how much that champion pool is tested. And Impact playing a tank for himself in the top lane. It is not Smite on that Gnar up there. And it's going to be a very fun Game 3 series tied up 1-1 as we go live with this game. Keep us up to date with your predictions. Tweet hashtag TIP winner, hashtag TSM win to @LOL Esports on Twitter. You see the team comps on your screen. Impulse looking to make a lot of very aggressive early game plays. Solomid looking to disrupt all those guys. Game 3 in the best of 5 is coming up. Who's headed to the finals? Going to find out in the next 2 or 3 games.
Oftentimes in these best of 5 series, you see a team's true colors after a loss. TSM lost in game 1, went back to hypercarry back up on Wild Turtle with pressure in the mid lane from Bjergsen Zari. Impulse was switching things up from games 1 and 2, but because they lost, immediately rushed back onto Lee Sin, Adrian back onto Leona, and the team looking to make a lot of plays around the map.
What do you do when you're down? Immediately return to Comfort Champions. Heard that a lot yesterday as well. So this is the first time Impulse not coming out with the same just line of scrimmage start. They're going to run straight into a sapling though, so.
All right, Dyrus.
It will be deep wards though, because they still have five characters strong here. So they can make those deep wards that we have not seen so far for the lane swap identification.
All right. Both wards get seen. Those are always within vision.
There's been a ton of mind games between the junglers this series. Santorin and Rush always trying to mess each other up. Last game we kind of saw the explosion of it.
Oh, Apollo.
He would be in trouble.
But no one's around.
The heady play by Dyrus there. But also, because of that invade and because of Dyrus' sapling spawn, he can't pull off any cuteness with Maokai early on in the game. A lot of times Maokai will like to stack saplings, take a camp, hit level 2, especially if he's going to be forced into a lane swap or a difficult 1v1.
Well, it looks like as far as lane swaps are concerned, they are going to be almost a 2-on-2 as Impact round to the bottom lane, but Apollo says, you know what, we saw Lucian heading up there, get us out of this lane, and I agree, it's a really tough duo lane to beat for Team Impulse. So they will swap away. Impact helps Rush start with red buff, and they can maybe go for their second buff, the enemy blue.
This is also a red buff start because Rush knows that the lane swap wards are down, and he doesn't actually want to give away his jungle opening, which he would have if he goes for the Krugs.
Very smart stuff there. Well, lane swap is the name of the game. Santorin going to walk all the way to the top side of the jungle right away. Does not want to get stolen from.
See, there's an interesting choice here for Rush. Does he decide to go the safe route and just go into the strong side of the jungle where they have a ward? Or does he continue the double jungle over into his own blue side and then possibly make a move to head off Santorin? Looks like he's going to try and grab up their own blue buff first.
Yeah, I would say actually, because TSM was not able to meet that top lane wave, this is not the most ideal lane swap formation for Impulse, since the lane is, I don't think it's freezing up in that top lane perfectly.
It's really hard for Santorin to just inherently call this. Lesplay's looking to make a roam. Okay. They're going mid lane focus. Even earlier than I expected, actually. But Xiao expected it, had an early ward there, and that venture mid does mean that Rush is able to pick up that blue buff. A little bit of the greed pays off this time for Team Impulse. And Rush with the double buff. Oh, that one's not going to pay off.
1v2 body slam Flay, and maybe the death sentence over the wall. Lustboy does not guess correctly.
They are getting a lot of damage down onto Dyrus. And because of the damage they did to Rush, they're thinking of doing a turret dive. I'm surprised Impulse is respecting this so heavily by backing away. Now there's no turret to save them.
Flash forced by Rush because the ignite from Lustboy. Yeah, 2-on-3. These guys unwilling to defend it at all.
Meanwhile, Dyrus can teleport back into the turret. So TSM, 3 lanes of experience being absorbed at the moment. Impulse shoved off.
That explains that they were afraid of the Dyrus teleport. He'd been able to recall back from getting pressured, and it would have been a 4-on-2 under the turret. So,
yep.
There's the respect from Impulse. Good communication there to realize, and just, good heads-up play. But it means top lane turret's going to get pressured very heavily by Team Solomid right now.
Yeah, really strong early game so far from TSM. Impulse having to react a little bit to it with the late arrival in top lane from Impact. The slight over-aggression with Rush going back at the Gromp and taking a bunch of damage just allowed some small windows of opportunity for TSM here. And you can see that with a 500 gold early advantage.
Wow, gigantic early lead. Turret health also very big in their favor. Top lane for Team Impulse, nearly dead. Bottom lane for TSM, practically full.
Also, Xiao in the mid lane. You can see only CSing with the wild cards, not moving up because he has no vision so early in the game. They lost track of Gragas, so he's playing it very, very safe.
But it's pushed out is the problem. Bjergsen's culling the way very cleanly, which means Xiao can only CS from the mid lane, even with his Q. Adrian looks for the pressure on a wild card, gets the stun. The nice double hop comes in as well. Ignite is burned. One more hit would pop Hyper, but Impact not going to hit it.
So, again, focus mid lane here. They've got the pink ward already setting up this gank. Is Xiao playing safe enough?
Nice dodge in the chain.
Using his ghost right as he saw Lustboy, which gave him the ability to dodge the chain. Saves him from either having to burn both summoner spells or dying altogether.
Danger ping goes down, but top lane does not react. The roam from TSM gonna get there in time for Adrian.
That's a really good boomerang toss, though. Impact catches. Yeah,
that was cute. He jumped on Adrian to cover more distance.
Yeah.
Top laner support synergy. Gnar is actually pretty good in 2v2 lanes.
Yeah.
As a pseudo AD carry.
I remember Nidalee used to be one of the better 1v2s back when she was a bit of a top laner, just because she was able to be ranged and kind of hit things from far away. Long-range skill shot to get CS, long-range auto attacks gets him as well. So far, so good for him. TSM, that lead has actually shrunk pretty significantly, actually, down to 200 here. Of course, a couple of waves still on the map makes that a bit of an awkward measure.
Uh-oh, he's going to miss one of these at least.
Nothing he could do.
Hurts your soul, freak.
Hurt Xiao more than that. This guy lives to farm.
Sure.
All right, he is level 6 though, so while he does live to farm, now he's built to gank.
Mercury Tread's first item on TF as well. He is a defensive TF, to say the least. He's got to dodge the skill shots, and also if he takes one, he's trying to give him that tenacity early on in the game.
Well, it's the best way to get himself extra move speed. He's at 397 before any other augmentations there, so at least some extra move speed from Runes and Masteries. Impact does not lose his recall.
I can't remember the last time I saw a mid laner build Mercury Treads as his first item.
Yeah. Anytime Keen played mid Hecarim, pretty much. Yeah, that's pretty much it, because he'd always rush home guards.
True.
But
Will Shao also rush home guards?
Oh god.
There's always the chance.
The home guard TF gang.
Not horrible, I suppose, but either way, definitely an uphill battle right now for Team Impulse's mid laner. Bjergsen going in pretty hard, thankfully for Xiao. He misses the chain.
Chugging on his flask as well. Definitely going to need to use that renewable resource. Stick in this lane and stay close in CS. He's doing a pretty good job considering how safe he's played and how many visits not only Santorin but also Lustboy made.
Oh yeah, did. And he's missing Ghost right now, so a summoner disadvantage for him as well. Xiao, just the hydro-powered flask, the renewable resources, in comes it. Wow, again. Xiao so far reading Bjergsen well and dodging the chains. On the guessing game so far, TSM have guessed mostly wrong. The hook over the wall when they went for Rush a while back, the 2 chains so far, but at some point Impulse luck will run out. And these kills might start coming through pretty soon for TSM.
Yeah. Maybe the most surprising thing is that we have not seen Rush on our screens in the first 4 minutes.
Yeah.
Really of the laning phase here. I mean, the Lee Sin, the classic Rush, not there in the early game. Right now, though, he's got focus on vision. Picked up a couple of wards on his back. See if he can actually get Xiao the control that he needs in mid lane to free up the TF to make a move.
I feel like the lane swap set Rush back a fair bit. When Santorin caught him and burned his flash, it took the aggression right out of Rush's early game, not wanting to make a big mistake that sets his team back. He'd already been caught by Santorin once during some counter jungling and didn't want to let it happen again.
Attempt mid number 7.
Bring the house!
Oh, the hook is gonna land. Also, the Gragas is gonna land. Pretty much everything. Xiao flayed in, flashes the wall. In comes Santorin for another attempt. The Ignite. Gonna get the kill over to Lustboy. The fight's still continuing. Teleport comes in from the TSM top laner. Adrian in a pretty bad spot. Flashed over, but still caught up by Dyrus. Eclipse not gonna give him up their ability. 2 kills over to Team Solomid. Bjergsen's LeBlanc definitely off the ground.
That, I don't know what the reason for that aggressive move from Xiao was to move up towards Thresh for the stun card. He had been dodging previously when Bjergsen all-in'd him towards Bjergsen to make him miss the chain from LeBlanc, but Lustboy throws it directly at his face, and Xiao steps right in. Costs his team a lot of control mid.
A lot of more control mid as Rush gets taken down. Xiao shows up, but Dyrus on a lantern gets away pretty cleanly. Impact fairly close to Mega Gnar, but taking a lot of damage. He's not tanking it. It's a Hex Drinker. Gnar, Boomerang Blade gets Lustboy low, but no follow-up for Impulse.
Mid lane pressure is the name of the game for TSM here. It's what you do against Twisted Fate. We haven't seen Twisted Fate come out in a while, but TSM is not missing a beat delivering this camp of the mid lane. It's the only way they get a numbers advantage is if they can take down Twisted Fate first, and they are exploiting that right now.
He had done such a good job, though. He had already popped the Ghost. He could easily dodge a max range Thresh hook, yet he runs straight forward. It wasn't even... Xiao was handling the pressure very well up until that point.
You know, we asked if TSM could adapt well to the new meta. The Smite top laners, how many jungle camps can you take down? Well, there's one extra camp for TSM. It's the mid lane camp, and these players very good at getting to that one. So far, they have smited Xiao.
Former NFL punter and LoL analyst with some predictions before that first game, and now calling this one for TSM in Game 3.
Hey, so far it's good. Just pull a dash and, you know, put in your predictions most way through the series.
And then, well, that
Get it
was
wrong.
wrongest. That's the unfortunate part. This one, though, 2,500 gold on the side of TSM, on top of the stacked deck bonus that Xiao gets on Twisted Fate, which is free gold.
Solomid is still very far ahead here.
Because we've been focused so heavily on the mid lane, we haven't really talked about Dyrus this game. On Maokai, on the tank, took the Lulu ban. He's up a large margin. Take a look at this dragon, though. He doesn't have teleport, just down there tanking it, and he's able to grab the objective for the team.
Yep, it's...
The lane swaps here for TSM.
It's basically that. TSM won the lane swap early on, and that's allowing them to focus the mid lane since they don't have to worry about Dyrus at all this game. Xiao is in so much trouble.
The Wolves save Xiao from the chain, meaning he lives through the Ignite of Lustboy, but TSM, underneath the turret, still not able to get shoved around. These guys own the map right here. TSM looks like they're going to push in for mid-outer. and there is very little response from Impulse.
Yeah, they're definitely behind the ball right now, Team Impulse. Santorin has the Trailblazer as well, so he benefits greatly just from that one little skirmish with Rush that set him behind. Because he went with the Chilling Smite, much harder to farm. They've both committed to... a Xiao again.
Adrian tanks one for the team. He's going to take a whole bunch of damage. Nice three-man stun, but will it be enough? Maybe? Yeah, he chipped into the culling, but he still goes down.
There's never enough people there for Team Impulse. TSM always outnumbering them. Gnar off in the top lane. Twisted Fate can never teleport into these fights because he is always the one being collapsed upon. And it is just going from bad to worse for Impulse here. TSM is playing this game textbook.
I mean, they take the mid lane turret and they immediately set up wards all around the middle of the map and circle around while they know that Impulse have not had the time to set up vision to compensate for the lack of turret mid.
The Warrior enchant Lee Sin really not having an early impact as well, so everything that Team Impulse bet themselves on so far really not working. Solomid doing an amazing job of pushing around Impulse and not letting anything go well. Apollo's getting farm. He's up 23 CS, but Sivir's not exactly Jinx or Kog'Maw. It's not like the gold's going to make her a ridiculous late game here.
Yeah, it's a 1,000 gold advantage for both Santorin and Bjergsen over their counterparts. And we know that Santorin and Bjergsen have awesome synergy when TSM runs that mid lane priority, which conveniently is the ideal thing to shut down the strength of this Team Impulse composition. Everything is just going to plan for TSM this game.
Yeah, Darius as well, up 1,000 gold over Impact.
That's the big X factor. That's the reason this game is getting so out of hand, because we're used to Bjergsen and Santorin if they focus on mid to get mid going.
Yeah, they're supposed to have their gold leads.
Yeah. Darius and Turtle are a bonus.
Well, yeah, I mean, Impact and Rush are supposed to have their gold leads too, and yet here we have a game where Rush hasn't done anything except die this game, and Impact getting the worst end of the lane swap is still very far behind Darius. So, gold lead once again. Team Solomid last game, we're able to cash that one in pretty cleanly. Rush Tenacious team fight won him the game off of Baron buff.
Rush looks like he's trying to force a move up top. Now, Darius, very tanky at this point, has built early armor, and it just feels like this is going to be a very hard play to pull off. Patience, though. They are just going to wait in that bush for a long time. Darius also has flash, by the way.
Woo. Ooh, one bolt away from dying. TF ult comes in. Looks like top lane
going top
is the focus. Darius has the ulti on. Impact not even close to Mega Gnar, and he gets out with just a flash. Rush even kicked him.
Yeah.
And they lose complete mid lane pressure after that because Xiao committed for it. Not only did they have their jungler camp in that top lane brush, but they also committed their mid lane teleport, the first real TF gank, and TSM punished them for it.
Wow, absolutely nothing done. This Impulse lineup falling flat very heavily. Team Solomid pressuring everywhere around the map. You gank 3 top, will kill bot lane and mid lane for this one. Wild Turtle looking to bounce the wave off the turret kill.
This is quite a performance by TSM throughout.
Bit of damage. Impact will switch back to Mininar, which will give him some percent health damage, maybe on the chase toward Dyrus. It's a flashless Maokai. Impact has his, but no other help left around. Rush very caught. He has nowhere to go. Bounced around by everybody. Bjergsen gets the kill. Rampage for the mid laner of TSM.
All the ults for Rush right there, because TSM is free to go wherever they want. If I'm looking at this from Impulse's perspective, sometimes when you're preparing heavily for a lot of best of 5s, which Impulse had to do, a best of 5 against Gravity and a best of 5 against TSM, and you have a strategy that you think is your ace in the hole because it works so well in practice, which honestly, based on the bans that Gravity had levied at Impulse and their confidence with his Twisted Fate comp, I think Impulse thought this was their best team.
I agree.
Also, TSM threw out the bait in that first game by banning the Twisted Fate and being like, oh yeah, we're scared of it too. But maybe this whole time, if you think you have a team comp that is your best, you oftentimes don't practice it as much as your other things because you think it is reliable. But what appears to be happening this time for Team Impulse, A, they're not used to things going wrong with the team comp, and B, even their early game strat didn't seem very well measured because they have no answer for this Gragas LeBlanc.
I don't really feel like this is a comp issue. I feel like these are mistakes that were made by Impulse early in the game that have led them to this situation.
Absolutely, and I think a lot of that does have to do, though, if they think this is their best team comp, how many Twisted Fate games has xiaoxiao actually been getting in? How much has Rush actually been practicing Lee Sin recently versus Nunu? Yes, they are some of their best champions that they feel like they can fall back onto, but the individual play is not following through with this. The comp is fine, but they are getting outplayed.
Now TSM doing an amazing job with their play to keep Impulse down, and the result of all that is a 5,000 gold lead at 17 minutes. Team Solomid have aggressive pink wards. They got aggressive stealth wards here. They've got a ton of vision control. Well, Apollo pops ulti because he's just afraid of getting hit.
And spell shields.
Ulti hits Lust Boy. They can stun up the TSM support. Ulti comes in. Oh my god, they lock up the entire TSM lineup. That's a 1 for 0. Will there be more? Adrian is no longer tanky. As look at the damage coming through. 2 more kills picked up for Solomid, and xiaoxiao forced to run away. Can't for long. It's a 3-1 for TSM. Maybe it'll be 4.
Wow. Impulse committed super hard for that one on TSM, and you can't blame them. They needed to try and create something. TSM just so far.
Yeah, I think that's going to be Dragon number 2 for TSM. Ooh, going to take the red buff as well. Big bonus there for a Wild Turtle. He's getting right back into this game, evened up his CS. TSM looking very, very strong in game number 3.
Quick dash over the wall. Dragon going to be secured with no problems whatsoever. Team Solomid looking at now a 7,000 gold lead 18 minutes in. One of the biggest leads we've ever seen in the North American LCS. It's a rare form to see a gold lead this big.
Interestingly enough, Impulse had a similar gold lead against Gravity in their first best of 5. The first game, actually. To be on the other side of that coin must not be nice for Impulse. Yeah, double flash by Adrian and xiaoxiao to try and start this fight off because they had Mega Gnar, so timing-wise this would have been a great fight to take for Impulse if not for the giant gold deficit. Dyrus was completely unkillable when he TP'd in here, and the chase from Lucian LeBlanc was enough to destroy Impulse.
Yeah, they were able to take out one member of TSM, but the one member was Lustboy, the Thresh.
We did it.
I mean, and you had mentioned how far ahead some of the TSM members were. The 2 first targets focused were kind of tanks. And, you know, like, you look at Lustboy's gold, he's got as much gold, by the way, as Rush or Impact. Like, that's a fairly beefy Thresh, all things considered.
Yeah, he wants to be on the front line. Look at him, he's building a righteous glory.
Yeah. Yeah. Already got one on Santorin, want to add more engaged power. Team Solomid able to get whatever they want started. Mid lane tier 2 goes down for Lustboy, so you might knock down bottom outer, but a better and bigger turret goes down in TSM's favor. Things continually going the red team's way.
Makes this series so interesting. The mind game sometimes of being blue side versus red side right here. TSM staying on red side to try to get the red side sweep with their red side strats here on the back side of this series. Now they go for Baron with pink ward control. No Twisted Fate ultimate up. Also, with the last game being prepped, of TSM always just getting picks around the Baron pit,
yeah.
Impulse is terrified to walk into their own jungle.
Well, they're not even going to really try. Team Solomid picks up the 20-minute and 27-second Baron, and even still they can go for the picks. Adrian barely dodges the hook. And out they go, one of the fastest Barons ever.
Ever.
Well, in this year, yeah. I mean, he used to spawn 8 minutes, so, yeah. I mean, in the history of League of Legends, slow, but...
I like it, I like it. The consistency of TSM, though, showing through here.
Yeah.
I mean, not only do they get an advantage out of the lane swap, which historically, Impulse, obviously they're a new team that came together, they had a lot of problems with lane swaps early on, but the best of 5 series, we expected TSM to take hits early. They usually actually take hits early on in best of 5 series, and then they adapted them later on. Throughout this game, they knew exactly what they were getting themselves into. A global teleport mid laner. Just continue to attack it.
And it's the second game in a row that Team Solomid have opted to counter-pick mid lane for Bjergsen, give him an assassin in a good matchup, get the pressure lead over the enemy mid laner, and lo and behold, Solomid doing quite well for themselves. Bjergsen 5-0 in this game. And mid lane turret nearly dying to the Baron buff.
I mean, Impulse's coach talked about trying to keep morale up for these guys. He needs to start thinking about that 5 or 10 minutes ago, because this game is really getting out of hand. And honestly, Impulse needs to be thinking about their Game 4 plans for a lot of this. It is nice to not consider yourself out of the game or anything, but their window for Twisted Fate to be effective with global pressure is long gone.
And here comes a hard engage. Inhibitor turret goes down. There's the dive. Lee Sin already gone. Adrian gonna follow him soon into the death chambers. And now Apollo, nice filter to keep himself up. Impact gets a stun, but it's a 3 versus 5. There's just no damage left. And in comes the hook. Xiao gonna fall. Apollo, the last one down. And an ace for Team Solomid inside of Impulse's base.
And they have Baron plus a minion wave. This could be a sub 23-minute victory for TSM.
Talk about speed records, Freak. This one is definitely up there this season.
Man, all right. Well, put them on Summer Games done quick, because Team Solomid looking to get a 22-45 second Nexus turret down. But the respawns are so darn quick that they're going to try to fight Rush while fighting the base. And this could be actually Team Impulse holding the base alive for now.
Our hopes of the record still alive.
Oh, wow. Rush's
there's
game
more.
is not getting any better right here.
Do it. He does. Hey! Griffin lives. Oh, the wild card gets him. In comes Impact. Team Impulse are not done. Wild Turtle goes down. Lustboy is sure to follow once Gold Card comes back up. Xiao shows him how it's done, and Lustboy gets taken out. Dragon's up in a minute, though. Impulse, nothing much to do. Bot lane is open, maybe.
Even with all those shutdowns, 10,000 gold. 2 Dragons to 0. It's a nice relief of the pressure by Team Impulse, but as far as the overall impact of this game, it would take about 3 more of those in order to turn the game around.
Yeah. Rush trying to walk away. Daiwa says nope. Takes down 1, 2, and they're going to chain on this.
Once again, these are fights that wouldn't be awful for Impulse if it wasn't for the giant gold lead. Grog assaulting a Mega Gnar back into your team near a wall doesn't seem like the best thing to do.
Yeah, Turtle had to flash.
10 health to a minion. Xiao, calculated.
Living on the edge.
Easy. Well,
got to make things exciting.
Even the minions are dangerous for Team Impulse inside their base. Waves are going to take a while, of course. Those in Nexus turrets will never respawn, so always a threat of pressure, always a threat of split push here. They got to wait another 3 minutes for their inhibitor to come back up, but Dragon's already on the field. There's a lot TSM can do. There we go, taking down Wild Turtle, solos it. Bonus movement speed, and the next target looks to be bottom lane.
And if Impulse tries to defend this turret, I feel like the game ends. Yeah, they lose their Nexus. Because TSM can dive in behind the turret with a Maokai, follow up with the Gragas ultimate, and Darius would be tanky enough to go in between that turret, I feel like.
Well, here's all 5 of Solomid. And they will go and knock down that bottom tier 2. Bjergsen always buys that pretty early blue elixir. Gives him even more turret killing power. Nice to see for him. And now for inhibitor number 2. A turret under fire. TSM go in. Bjergsen chunks out Adrian to 1/3. And they will not quite get the follow-up damage. Santor gets a lantern out. He stays safe. But Impact down to 1/4 health himself. Wildcard's wave clear a little bit. Solomid can nearly one-shot the backline. Hook on Impact. Oh. The culling almost takes him out. So many near kills for TSM. But it's actually Wild Turtle who goes down. Big mid-lane minion wave coming in, though. TSM forced to run.
Honestly, the Wildcards did a lot of work there for Tip as they were defending that. Where's Xiao gonna go? Suicide! No,
goes a little bit too late, and the hook's not gonna catch him. Rush comes in for Lustboy. A couple more attacks will do him in. But Bjergsen gonna be close to getting this kill. Puts in the Q. Doesn't quite get it. Ignite won't take him out either. And it's 2 kills for Team Impulse. They've got to go back and defend. And it's their tank Adrian who's sitting there wailing on minions, trying to keep it alive with Impact.
Santorin is still not died either. Santorin 0-0-12 here. Only missed out on 2 kills from TSM.
Wants it, Xiao! Oh my god!
Oh, they killed him!
He got back on Xiao, but hey, worth it, IMO.
It's getting a little sloppy for TSM,
yeah.
Honestly. They thought the game was going to be over at 22 minutes, and this has been a minor problem during the regular season before for TSM as well, where the game extended beyond the point where it should. Here, the main part of this fight was actually earlier when Santorin took a bunch of turret damage and blew his ultimate, meaning there's no disengage for Team Impulse when this happens. Rush with a great kick, Apollo with a great flash auto, and then once again, no Gragas ultimate to engage or disengage. Chasing in as well, Bjergsen does have to respect the gold card when it's pulled, has to get out of there right away, and the chase from Twisted Fate was respected when Lustboy mistimed his hook.
Bjergsen forced to flash away. A little cleanup for fun.
Yeah, TSM really do need to regroup before going into the next game. Yes, they've won 2 in a row versus Impulse here, but only 1 game.
So gonna rush. Goodbye.
Speaking of having to regroup, Rush has had a rough time.
Rush has had a very
1-6-2. Every once in a while, we see Rush start a game with a whole lot of deaths.
And that's what happens when you have this playstyle, right? When things go poorly early and you keep trying to force it, they're gonna get worse and worse.
Yeah, my made-up stat for it is 80%. It works 80% of the time. This is the one game in the BO5 you're allowed to have this, because you're now get your backs up against the wall. Team Impulse in a really bad spot. This game, 99% of the times they do lose this one. TSM looking to close this one out and make it a 2-1 scoreline in this best of 5. Xiao getting chased out. And mid lane about to get knocked down soon as well. Xiao gets caught out by Dyrus. He could be a kill, and he is. Dyrus solos him from 1/4 health, and now Impulse missing their mid laner, missing their wave clear. Here comes the push that might win the game. No turrets left on this path. Rush down to 1/3. Santorin says hello. Impact is Mega Gnar.
Nexus is open, guys.
But yeah, it's an open Nexus. In he goes. Knocked him into the team. A little bit of damage comes through. The tankies are pretty big, though, and Apollo's going to be killed. Wild Turtle does trade back. 80 carries are gone, but it's still a 3 versus 4 in TSM's favor. Down goes Impact. 4 versus 2. And now, to the Nexus they go to close the game out. 29 minutes. Team Solomid now 1 game away from their 5th consecutive North American LCS.
Seven minutes later, you have to end the game. There's some sloppiness in that.
Sure.
But the first 22 minutes of that were pristine.
Absolutely.
2 thumbs up.
5.
6 total if you put all of us in here. Like, honestly, yeah, it was a very, very good early game by TSM. The mid lane pressure, oh, look, it worked. And it's weird because you were talking about this at the beginning of the game. Like, all right, it's the standard TSM game plan. They're so good at getting Bjergsen ahead. They pick red side for game 3 so they can counterpick in game 2, game 3, and game 4 here as TIP picked blue. And TIP blind pick a weak mid laner, and I feel like that has to change right away.
That hurt.
Again, I was just so disappointed with the step up there for Xiao when he walked into the Thresh hook. I felt like it was doing so good, absorbing all of the pressure from TSM for the vast majority of the beginning of the game.
He was. Xiao this year has been somewhat of an enigma. You never know if he's going to be pulling out a great performance.
Is he going to dodge straight at you?
Yeah.
Or?
And every once in a while, he just does something he should never do.
Yeah. Well, an unfortunate game then for Xiao and the rest of the team getting kind of pushed around as well by Team Solomid. A great Game 3 win for TSM, and more for that win. Let's send it over to the analyst desk.
Thank you, Freak. A second win there for TSM, 2-1 in TSM's favor now in the series. So the first question for me is mental fatigue, the mentality of Team Impulse coming off of 2 losses in a row after a pretty commanding first win of the series.
Yeah, and mental fatigue is something I have a lot of experience with because I'm so used to losing. So when you're behind, you have to make more decisions and harder decisions in a shorter span of time from when you're ahead. When you're in control of the game, you can either take your time or the decisions are easier because you have more opportunities. So when you're behind like Team Impulse is, actually there's a lot of mental fatigue and people will attribute this to like tilting or, oh, well, they're choking. But really it's just, you can't make that many decisions game after game after game and have them all turn out well. So when they're backs to the wall and they only have to lose 1 more game to get out, it gets increasingly harder to make good decisions as the series goes on.
They also didn't kind of capitalize on what was going well for them in game 1. Like, the fact that they decided to change their strategy is absolutely baffling to me. Like, they haven't run a TP Smite top laner since then. I understand you want to run TF mid, right? You're banning Cassiopeia for that reason. But if you want that strategy, why would you pick starting blue side games 2 and 4? Why don't you just pick red side and get it as a counter pick? Because you're going to get counter picked by Bjergsen, and he's going to play LeBlanc into you every time. Like, it's just absolutely strange to me that TIP came into this with something that looked like a ton of prep for red side. Then when they're playing blue side, the side that they chose, they just drop the ball over and over again so far.
And I just want to talk a little bit about Xiao Zhao because I feel like even if TIP loses, I got to give this guy some credit before it's too late. This guy is so good. I feel like he is a player with amazing mechanics, as you saw. He's dodging everything, hitting every skill shot that he needs to be. Really quick fingers. Also amazing game sense. You can tell when he's playing TF and Karthus, he knows exactly what's going across the map at all times. The only problem is I feel like he's on the either a wrong team or a team that is not built to help him. He can possibly win every 1v1 matchup against Bjergsen. He's just not given the opportunity because TIP is not giving him any resources. And when he does get a lead in CS or gold or even in pressure, TIP doesn't help him drive it home. So he doesn't really get to push Bjergsen in and make him useless. And it's just really TSM bullying him around despite the fact that he's such a great player.
And you could see all the resources TSM put in there. They were like, all right, winning matchup for Bjergsen last pick, it's like, boom, let's throw Lustboy into mid, Santorin into mid, and everybody's just throwing all the skill shots at him, right? You can only dodge them for so long.
It's a very interesting point, Doublelift, about the fact that he is a mechanically skilled player but isn't given the resources to work with, because we saw so often he would push it in, wild cards out with TF, push the lane in, and then just go sit by his turret. He literally had nothing else to do, so unless they give him a good ultimate to another lane, he's rendered ineffective.
And the most hilarious part to me is, critically, this is the guy who's getting counterpicked all 3 games so far in this series, and he just doesn't care. Like, he's just playing out of his mind, actually. The fact that he's even able to go even in CS or pressure with Bjergsen, and TSM is a team that pressures mid almost always with Lustboy and Santorin, just highlights the fact that he's just playing so well in this series.
So then I think where we go from there is needing to, wishing the Team Impulse would utilize his ability to stave off that mid lane pressure for so long, because he did do it for so long. Kobe gave him praise for having played that lane so well until he walked into that hook from Lustboy. But through all that time, TSM is funneling resources mid, and Impulse wasn't capitalizing elsewhere on the map, knowing that they could put man advantages in other lanes.
Yeah, and what I will say is, if you kind of break down Team Impulse's performance so far in this series, Apollo and Adrian have had little to no game impact. Or I would say Adrian has decent game impact, but Apollo is really doing almost nothing in these games in terms of pressure. If you compare his pressure in the map compared to Wild Turtle, he's almost always at a disadvantage. What you'll see is there's a potential for game impact coming from mid lane that they're just not tapping into, and instead they're just forcing plays in the jungle with Adrian and Rush, and they're just trying to snowball that into Impact's lane, and that's a really predictable playstyle. Xiao Zhao is also locked into a predictable playstyle. He's just going to be farming mid lane. They need to change something up fundamentally about the team in this next game if they want to win.
Yeah, and it wasn't working for them when they were like, we're going to have jungle and top pressure when they got shut down, because it was predictable. In TSM, we're like, all right, invade him early, keep him down, keep the lane swap going. Like, that was really in TSM's favor. They won the lane swap pretty handily.
And that's where I want to make the transition over to TSM, because that first game, Dyrus went down 0-2 in lane very early, and we saw a lot of that be the reason why the TP Smite Shyvana, which we said worked out very well, but Impact having that leg up over Dyrus allowed them to affect the rest of the map. In these next 2 games, Dyrus having a much more solid performance, and we pointed both him and Lustboy out as being, people that, although they're not looking for tons of farm, tons of damage, and huge plays, their consistent performance throughout the rest of the series is going to be kind of what seals the game for TSM. So getting Dyrus into a comfortable position here, I think, is the way that TSM secures the series.
Yeah, and I feel like a lot of that is TIP's letting TSM play their own game. TIP is not dictating the pace like they normally do. Like, the fact that they have the TP Shyvana as a strat coming in, the fact that they're letting Santorin have this pressure jungler that can also transition into a tank in late game fights is something that TIP need to reevaluate. You cannot let TSM play their own game because they're going to beat you at it.
Yeah, and I think the thing that's really throwing Impulse off is just how great Santorin's playing. Like, this
Yeah.
guy is playing amazing this series, and a lot of that has to do with the fact that he's been getting Gragas these last 2 games, and a lot of people underestimate that champion in terms of game impact. I mean, Santorin's hitting great ultis, great body slams. He's snowballing early game every game so far with Gragas. Bjergsen's just expected to play amazing. Turtle and Lustbar are holding up and doing well late game. Like, this is just a team that's playing their game.
Yep. Pressure's on Impulse, definitely, here going into Game 4. Now, Team Solomid are just 1 game away from locking up their spot in the finals. We'll see if they can get it done or if Team Impulse can push the series to 5 games. Don't go anywhere. stands at 2-1 for TSM, and they just need one more win to advance to the finals. So when we approach this fourth game, I want to look at, as you mentioned before, Doublelift, that mid lane matchup, but how Impulse utilizes Xiao Zhao's play in the mid lane, the pressure that he's drawing from TSM.
Yeah, so part of that, and I think actually a really crucial part of the early game, is the fact that there's 2v1s almost all these games. And what happens is Lustboy and Santorin are a lot more coordinated and accustomed to playing around Bjergsen and shutting down the enemy mid laner, in this case Xiao Zhao, and Impact is falling behind relative to Dyrus because TSM's just outplaying them in the 2v1. So maybe in Game 4, the change that TIP needs to make and the change that TSM must be scared of is a match lane 2v2, 1v1, where Xiao Zhao can feel comfortable farming 1v1 instead of having all this roam pressure on him, and Impact can simply outplay Dyrus as he's expected to.
Yeah, because Game 1, he had a very self-sufficient mid laner that you brought up, where he had the Orianna in that matchup, and he did perfectly fine, and they transitioned into team fights beautifully, and they actually put resources into that mid lane. Rush came up, Nunu Snowball threw a whole bunch of things at Bjergsen, and they killed the Urgot. They need to do more of that if they want to capitalize on his pressure.
Yeah, what I want to highlight is in the 2 games that they lost, Xiao Zhao is playing Karthus and TF globals, and how are you supposed to really snowball with a global when you have a passive AD carry and a top laner that got 2v1'd and is like 3 levels behind?
Right, and then on the flip side, we look at TSM. I feel like they just need to stay the course here. Let Impulse continue to make aggressive and over-aggressive plays, and then just punish them there. They don't need to be doing anything risky here, sitting up 1 game in the series.
Yeah, they really just need to react to what TIP may throw at them this time. If they go back to the TP Smite strat, how do you deal with it now? Or if they stay with what they're going with, then you just play games 2 and 3 over again, pretty much.
All right, well, we'll see what changes these teams have made going into Game 4. We're going to send it up to the caster desk to get us back into the action.
Well, thank you very much, Dash. We are going to get ourselves back into the action very soon. Game 4. Team Impulse again on the blue side, sticking with this one. Team Solomid over on red. It seems like the Bjergsen counterpick and the pressure on his lane has consistently been working for Team Solomid.
Yeah, and the other thing I'm keeping my eye on are the stages of Rush's gameplay. Remember, this is a guy, this is his first competitive team, and this is his first best of 5 series. This guy went from, or second, but he went from Game 1, amazing Nunu, great game plan, everything went as expected, really aggressive plays, to Game number 2, started getting a little bit shaky, then Game number 3, okay, I have to revert to my comfort champion, and I still had a bad early game on my comfort champion. Yeah. Can he recover from this and actually continue to play aggressively and try and play with Impact? Oh, it looks like already with the early Lulu pick, that might not be the strategy. Impact has played a lot of support champions in the top lane, Lulu and Morgana, so this is definitely a possibility for top Lulu.
Well, also with the Maokai ban, things get changed up a little bit. I have no reason to suspect Santorin doesn't go for Gragas yet again. He's been really dominant on that champion. Team Solomid very willing to give up a variety of high priority first picks so that they can take 2 good picks on the back end time and again.
Well, once again, we're going to see Dyrus' champion pool stretched a little bit more. The Nautilus does get taken away here. Lustboy won't get his Thresh, but just pick another hook, whatever, no big deal here.
Protect Apollo?
Maybe. Thing is, he's been really good the regular season. I haven't liked Apollo's playoff play quite as much. It concerns me a little bit.
We've seen him the vast majority of games, Sivir Graves.
Yeah.
Kog'Maw is the one exception that he was not on Sivir and Graves.
It's interesting here because
they're committed to this now.
They're committed to it now.
This is 100% AP Cog.
They're also probably going to... They could also go with something like Jinx if they really wanted to and have AP Cog with the Jinx AD carry, but the protection strategy revolving around 1 or 2 carries is locked in.
Yep.
At this point, TSM, do they just pick more and more hard engage and try and bust that death ball as much as possible? They already have the makings of it.
I think so.
They can already split up the ball with the Grog Assault. They can already initiate with Nautilus. It's not like this is a great counter to what TSM picked with the first 2 picks. It's just committing to a strategy.
No, I think TSM called them on this play, and they're like, you know what? You want to play defensively? I have never seen you play defensively. Try it. Let's see how you do. And they just pick a bunch of hard engage.
Yeah, every once in a while we do see Impulse play multiple supports. You're seeing the Morgana ban every single game. Like that's usually top Morg here. And they actually win games in like 25 minutes with that kind of composition from the laning phase. TSM playing more aggression here. The Urgot comes in, maybe swaps someone out who's important. The Corki for Wild Turtle. So these are not too hard engaged champions, though. TSM don't seem to be going for that.
They are.
Well, that's one of them's a hard engaged champion. He can swap someone back into their team.
I suppose.
The other is an AD carry. I think there's still, according to most of the plans here.
I guess to my thought it was like of the mid laners, like there's Diana and Fizz and like these things that really get to the back line. But you're right. Pearson can definitely start fights. Wild Turtle can definitely put damage in. So I'll retract that.
I definitely want it to. You said 1 or 2. I definitely want it to be a 2-threat team here for Impulse. Yeah. I do not think this is the type of team that survives with a 1 threat. So definitely, last pick Sion would be ill-advised, as we saw yesterday.
Oh,
all right.
But a last pick TP Smite Shyvana for some split pushing with the Deathfall.
A little bit more threatening.
All right. Well,
what the heck?
Alistar support, Lulu mid. Nunu jungle.
Not your normal way to close out a protect the cog strategy, but not completely out of line. Alistar can still knock people back or be a good CC bot, and having a sped up Shyvana can be almost more threatening than a sped up Kog'Maw in some situations. Giving him the benefit of the doubt here.
I actually,
most AD carries would agree with you.
Yeah.
In my mind, I actually like the Alistar here. I like the Shyvana as well. Second threat, right, from the top lane, whatever. The Alistar is a hard engage because we've seen that Impulse can use it to good effect over in game 1, while still being a good bodyguard, right? Headbutt back whatever the melee guy is. So I have to see what Impulse can do with this composition. We know where these champions are going. Team Solomid to take some time to grab their last possible champion. It will be a Sion here, so a giant beef wall with 2 marksmen behind it.
Their whole team actually composed of giant beef cakes.
Which Kog'Maw is good at cutting through. And Shyvana has some decent percentage health damage as well. Not the worst composition to go up against this. I don't know if TSM wins this team comp battle super hard here. It's going to be about how they play it out in the game. Although I do have to mention this series heavily going towards Team Solomid and whether or not this is all part of some larger plan. I actually talked with Loco on Thursday about his predictions for this series, and he said they would lose. TSM would lose the first game and then win the next 3.
Yeah.
So we are actually 1 game away from that prediction coming true with TSM. Always adjusting in these best-of-5 series and then taking it home.
So last time we saw Bjergat, he was one of the first people focused in a lot of the team fights.
Yeah.
From Impulse. This time around, you have to choose between him and Turtle. Well, actually, the last time Turtle was on Corki as well.
Well, the thing is also the first time around, he had a bunch of other ranged champions around him. This time there's a front line to soak up that and say, I dare you to engage past a Sion and a Nautilus and a Gragas. So,
and again, the Gragas for scattering these teams that rely on synergy, these teams that rely on buffing up somebody. Gragas is the perfect champion against that.
Absolutely. So some risk here for TIP. Either way, guys, at home, let us know who you think's got the edge heading into game 4. Tweet hashtag TIP win or hashtag TSM win to @LOL Esports on Twitter. Team Solomid 1 game away from another Finals in North America. TIP looking to make their first way in. They got to win 2 in a row for it.
TSM chants always strong here. Reginald's always cheering as soon as you walk in with his giant portrait up on the side of the screen. But honestly, this one they're going to have to win with the Urgot here, something TSM was not able to do in the first game of the series. Xiao as well on a much more defensive mid laner. Again, Orianna as a somewhat defensive mid laner was the only thing he's won a game on this series.
As we said last time as well, the lane swap was a big part of why TSM got a big early lead in the last game. And already they have Turtle hovering on the top side. Impact looking for that good early jungle start for Shyvana that he got in game 1.
And Impact will get his aggressive trinket down to spot for these lanes. I'm curious to see how these various matchups play out.
So this time around, Russian Impact, again, same story for the early start, but TSM have been alerted.
Minions have spawned.
They pinged that something's amiss here,
Impulse
but
is kind of second guessing this, it seems.
I think they have enough for it to be safe, right? There is one route in for TSM. They could theoretically stab these guys in the back, but
Base gate him.
yeah, they could base gate him, but it looks like it's not going to happen.
That would also require TSM to abandon their own start. As it stands right now, oh, Wild Turtle's going to take a lot of damage.
Oh, yes, he is.
But that pushes them off the jungle camp start right away. Rush and Impact are nowhere near their jungle start. And Les Boys, he's going to delay him even further.
That's 2 minutes in the game, and Impulse have not done any jungling at all. And in fact, they've lost more health than TSM have. Now, Wild Turtle can't build a freeze anymore, but do they really care? Look at this. Les Boys going hard.
Yeah.
Nautilus, the level 1 god.
And Impact forced to smite it.
I mean,
So
he's just going to keep annoying him for the entirety of this jungle. They do not have the skills to fight back.
yeah, exactly. They shared experience on that Gromp, so neither of them got level 2. There was no possibility of a Nunu leveling up Snowball to try and chase down Nautilus out of their jungle, so he runs both of them off of the blue side.
Hold on, though. Adrian, level 2 order looking mid lane. Bjergsen will not. Ooh, good flash.
Didn't have to burn his flash on Alistair, though, so a return gank could be an easy kill if there is no backup there for Bjergsen. Les Boy's just hoping to find someone there. This is his jungle.
All right, my wolves are still here.
Yeah.
My blue buff's still here. Everything's in order. Don't get out of line.
Man, 2 smites to 0, and Lustboy out jungles Impulse. That's always going to be insulting. But Xiao now with a summoner spell lead in the mid lane, able to shield himself on Lulu, able to push in as well. Can maybe make life hard. Oddly enough, top lane is actually freezing, and I wouldn't have thought it could have, since TSM couldn't get the lane on time at the first place, but Impact not going to get much here.
These level 1s are just so peculiar, and they're consistently in the favor of Team Solomid. Games 2 through 4 here. TSM with a great start. I mean, Santorin against Double Smite gets a full clear of his jungle and is guaranteed ahead of the enemy jungler.
Lustboy has flash, pulverized up into the air, but there's not a lot of damage. Follow-up is Impact. And Adrian only level 2. Wild Turtle at 3. Yeah, you're not very tanky without ulti, Alistair.
Rush just now hitting level 3. A full level behind Santorin.
Yeah.
Also, Santorin has not only hit level 4, but he's been back to purchase already upgraded the machete and back out on the field with wards.
And that manifests as a 400 to 500 gold lead for Team Solomid. With that scoreboard up at the top side, Impact using Smite to last it a bit more. Adrian just cannot possibly help. He's only got 500 health. Gets the headbutt, pulverize, ignite on a Lustboy as well. Adrian forced a flash wave, and here comes Rush. Oh no, Wild Turtle. He gets to trinket the brush, and he can't land the auto attack. He finally does. It's a kill trade though. First blood and 1 kill for Impact.
First blood still better for Wild Turtle. He gets more gold out of that and the kill. They just have to worry about the threat of Impact with that extra gold early on in the game. Santorin looking for a gank of his own. Apollo has got a flash, still gets hit.
Oh wow, does not flash at the right time. The flash E from Dyrus, the knockup's gonna land, and the AD carry goes down. Dyrus gets the kill, TSM far ahead.
Dyrus gets to play League of Legends. Uh-oh. He's on Scion. He's got the wave frozen in front of his turret.
You know, one thing that's always kind of cool about the playoffs is you get these different pocket picks depending on who has been scrimming whom. And TSM and Cloud9, since they're on opposite side of the brackets, usually are pretty good scrim partners. Consistency between these two series is the level 1 invade on support Nautilus from both Lemon Nation and Lustboy. That is definitely something that emerged with these guys in practice and has been so effective here in the LCS. They know the limits of that, and it's been working for them both.
It has been absolutely. Of course, Cloud9 waiting to join one of these two teams in the finals, and so far in Game 4, that team is looking like Team Solomid. The Nautilus jungles maybe we'll come out in the finals here if TSM can close this one out, but of course we are still in the early game. Santorin 3 levels up on Adrian. You couldn't possibly win this fight on Alistair.
Adrian has no flash. I mean, if Santorin gets his spells back up, he could straight up kill him here.
Lustboy smells blood too. Headed in.
All right.
Adrian level 2 as support. This early game is going heavily in the favor of TSM. The Dragon is a nice thing for them to pick up that will not help their gold or experience.
I'm actually really curious too how this Sion Kog'Maw lane fares now because of the kill for Dyrus and the fact that they're actually even in CS.
He can kind of bully him, or he can push
He's
him in.
shoving him into the turret over and over. Kog'Maw, remember, central to this team because they picked up 2 tanks with the last 2 picks. Need to get him max W, need to get him to that Trinity Force
And he
as
is,
quickly as possible.
he is lower farm than every single carry lane of TSM. He gets a solo lane for XP, at least he's leveling up, but certainly a far behind Kog'Maw here.
There were a few things we needed to judge for the success of this series for both teams. For Impulse to be successful, they needed Impact and Rush to overpressure Dyrus and Santorin and make a top lane priority a thing. That has failed in the last 2 games. Another thing Impulse needed to do was to have Xiao either match or exceed Bjergsen a little bit, since Bjergsen has more roaming responsibilities. That also hasn't happened. Both games, or all games this series, Bjergsen with a CS differential at 10. Around 13 or 14 I saw in the pregame. Everything that TSM needed to do to prevent Impulse from winning this series, they have done.
So far, so good then. Team Solomid. Dyrus doing well, even with some pressure from his team, which is quite nice. But even when left alone, his minion farm never seems to fall too far behind. Level 6 now on both these solo bottom laners. Lustboy, though, ready to stab Apollo in the back. Flashless Kog'Maw, but Lustboy has all his skills available that he needs. Mid-lane matchup still going fairly close, but Xiao taking a whole bunch of damage. Bjergsen so far so good in this matchup, and of course, not on Orianna. It's not like you can wait around and get 4 items and just crush people with shockwaves, so Xiao going equal in mid, not exactly an amazing thing to do.
Dyrus continuing to zone Apollo here. Lustboy has waited so long for this moment.
And it's done.
Adrian, a good bodyguard, and Dyrus dropping pretty low on health as well, so good stuff. Huge fan vote for Team Solomid here. And they do sit 1,000 gold up, but it stayed stagnant.
TSM's got to be careful not to vote more if they go over 90%.
The curse.
TSM loses.
Look at Impact though. Yes, Dyrus is getting back the lane quickly with his ultimate, but Impact, he's got his Cinderhole completed. He's got his smite up, started the counter jungling. Santorin just showed on the opposite side of the map. Rush saw him try and invade at the Raptors. So Impact getting some of that counter jungling done, some value out of that TP smite top laner.
Yeah.
Deep wards as well.
Impact's actually pretty much equal in gold with Dyrus right now, despite what you're seeing in the scoreboard being down in CS. He's killing camps that are worth more, so this top laner is scaling quite nicely, and we haven't gotten to see Shyvana versus Sion as a matchup, I believe, in the LCS. I'm actually curious to see how that heads-up matchup will eventually go, because they are in this 1v1 now. And Sion building armor, it's a magic damage top laner here. Impact's going to get a lot of damage here.
Time to fight.
Challenging smite as well. And that's true damage.
Dyrus doesn't have flash.
He has
Dyrus
red buff
doesn't
too.
have flash. This is going to be Impact
no.
killing Dyrus one-on-one. Oh my god.
Well, speaking of things that Impulse needed to go right in this series, Impact has to assert dominance over Dyrus in the lane. Dyrus not judging the red buff Cinder Hulk completed challenging smite damage of an equal level Shyvana, and he pays the price.
He does. He pays the iron price here, and this is going to be a very good thing then. Team Impulse with some top lane pressure. We saw Cloud9 get carried by that. We're seeing Red Team ban Hecarim every single game because they're so afraid of top lane running amok.
Freak. Paying the iron price is when you are the one doing the killing.
Really?
And you take something from them.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
Well, now that we're clear on that. Yeah.
I'm good with my references, guys.
Good try, though.
All right. Impact pays the iron price by killing Dyrus.
If you pay gold for something, then you're just buying it. But if you kill someone and take it,
You're paying the iron price.
Oh, that's...
There you go, buddy.
Oh, I learned something.
Did you read
today.
the books?
No. I don't even know what books we're talking about.
Oh, God.
Oh, big time dive.
Oh my god, it's a level 5 agent, though he's got to run away from the turret, but Apollo gets the kill. Dyrus TP's in. Won't land the big axe smash, but Tip forced to run away. Point blank ult from Dyrus. Impact is alright, I'll fight you. Forces the flash out. A snowball from Rush, though, means maybe they get more, and Xiao does get it.
They have to make sure they get some turret pressure, though, because there is a two-man push in the mid lane from TSM on the other side of this one. Big-time dive there from Impulse. All 5 members showing up in lane to try and equalize the game, and they trade turrets.
Well, the Great Danes of TSM do knock down the mid lane outer. Bot lane outer goes down, back for Team Impulse, and it's tipped now with 300 gold lead.
Wow, they came back pretty strong there, and all of that begins and ends, I feel like, with Impact solo kill on Dyrus, setting him out of sync. Xiao keeping up in farm. Now Alistar is level 6 if they want to continue their turret dives. Yes, the overall theme of this composition later will be to protect the Kog'Maw, but for now they're keeping up a lot of aggression. One of the main things about the normal Juggernaut team comps is they have to be very patient because they don't really have the ability to make plays. If you throw an Alistar and Shyvana in there, you hybridize the comp a little bit to a hard initiation dive with Kog'Maw to back it up.
I actually really like this, especially when you consider the fact Shyvana can pull people out, Alistar can push people out, and there's actually somewhere to put pressure on the map that's not just the Kog'Maw hitting a turret. I actually really like Impulse's team comp in this game. We'll see how else they can play out. Of course, TSM still very close in this game, the gold practically equal, and they've still got a very large gold income Urgot and a nearly Triforced up Corki.
Remember that giant check mark we gave Impact Freak?
It's paying off.
Let's see here, though. Because there are jungle camps up. Oh,
what?
Okay.
And some minions he wants to go and grab.
So minions first, then jungle camps. All right. He's got his priorities straight.
All right, Impact will not lose turret pressure for this, at least 40 seconds.
Yeah, well, there's vision on the bottom of the map here that relied, that showed them where Santorin was. So therefore, he's just going to try and farm in between the turrets. Knowing that both teleports are down, he's safely going to try and invade the jungle and make sure he counter-jungles Santorin. The main action, though, is at this dragon.
It's a 4-on-4, and a lot of Impulse's gold is on Impact himself. Will they play around Kog'Maw? The hard engage, they catch Apollo! This Kog'Maw's in a pretty bad spot. Xiao trying to buy some time. Rush builds a lot of room as well. Apollo goes into Wild Turtle. He's actually still not down. More time to hit some attacks, but Adrian is gonna fall. 1 for 0. Wild Turtle actually knocks down Rush as well, and Impulse's 4-on-4 goes bad. A flash away.
Rush is continually chasing kills on Nunu. He has to peel for the team here. Not team fight expertise on that champion, and TSM comes up big.
Lust Boy with the flash anchor to grab the extra kill on Kog'Maw, stunting his growth even further. Can he steal this with a... Okay.
He tried.
Dyrus, meanwhile, deciding to farm far away from Shyvana. Good choice.
And one of the critical things of that fight, though, is the fact that Impact, the main gold bearer on Team Impulse, wasn't there. So the 4v4 trade was not advantageous for Impulse, especially when you were considering they were the ones initiating the dragon take. So they were taking dragon damage this whole time. With the speed shrine control, they don't actually use that to their full benefit right there. Xiao gets, once again, isolated by the great ultimate there from Santorin's Gragas. And then, look, Rush, instead of trying to stick around with Apollo, he goes chasing Wild Turtle. He doesn't have the damage to kill Wild Turtle on Nunu. It cost them big.
He did have a decent Nunu ultimate after Apollo got knocked to the other side of this team, but wasn't enough. Lust Boy answers, picks up another one. Beautiful combo there.
More effect to our replays when they don't have sound as well.
Your voice carries all the weight.
Match.
All right, well, Team Solomid off a very good team fight. See themselves in a good spot. They got Dragon 1 themselves. They've got a 2,000 gold lead. They just have to worry about Impact trying to do crazy things in the top lane. Most recently, just he and Dyrus split some farm, proxying the wave. Didn't seem to do much for Shyvana, as it meant he was not able to fight Dyrus anymore. Bit of time to the pressure top lane out. Dyrus walking back to the lane will give time for the turret to take damage.
TSM circling around bottom. So when he does proxy, though, the added benefit for Shyvana is that she has the smite. So she gains not only the minions in the lane, but also the income from the jungle.
Oh, definitely. And right now he sits on a 900 gold lead because of some of that jungling here. Bottom lane.
Well, they should know they have a bit of a numbers advantage right now because Urgot is off dealing with Impact Shyvana, who's just trying to be a nuisance right now.
Right now, Bjergsen is taking the red buff away. He gets his own red. Impact gets some damage into Dyrus, who now is a Spectre's Cowl, so the MR coming in finally. Bjergot does have red buff. This is something that Impulse could time. Or Xiao recalling back in the flash. Snowball. Wild Turtle does have flash himself. And in comes Nautilus. A lot of slows in there, but not nearly enough done. Flash for nothing.
Rush is a playmaker. You can tell it's in his veins, but Nunu is not a playmaking champion. He keeps flashing in for these ice blasts, doesn't even burn a summoner spell from Wild Turtle after rotation, but burns everything from his own kit.
And look at this answer invade from TSM, circling around through the red side jungle, headed up towards mid lane here. Xiao's got blue buff though. He continually clears this wave extremely quickly.
Problem is all he's doing is trading farm, and Lulu, now known for his scaling, good hook in from Lustboy.
Get him.
Now Lustboy is
Get him, Rush.
in a rough position.
Great set of knockouts, no ulti for Lustboy. That will be the kill. The Apollo in prime position to the back line, but here comes the teleport. Xiao gets dropped down by Wild Turtle, who wants even more, as Apollo will be another kill picked up. Impact goes into can on the top side of the fight, but Rush getting chased down. A third kill for Wild Turtle, and now he wants the fourth. Impact gonna go down, no Penta for him. Bjergsen gets the fifth, but a huge team fight for Team Solomid.
That could be the fight that puts TSM into the LCS Spring Split Finals right there. They flanked around after Lustboy was caught, but Tip over-initiated in the own jungle there and got collapsed on hard.
That is going to accelerate the power spikes of Turtle and Bjergsen so quickly here. Already sitting on the Trinity Force. That's 6 kills on Turtle, 3 on Bjergsen.
Yeah, we know that Rush burned his flash ultimate in that attempted catch of Wild Turtle and was out of mana before this fight began.
So was Apollo.
So when they try and go in there after the kill, they are trapped. Teleports come into match, but it doesn't matter because Wild Turtle is in the flank, gets most of the damage down. Bjergsen full resources, Turtle full resources, Rush and Apollo out of the fight before it begins, and it is just a bloodbath, all in the favor of TSM.
Level 11 Trinity Force Corki. And got to land an easy Foss Bomb.
Huge damage.
He's sitting on 3,000 gold right now.
Bloodthirster.
One shot of Bloodthirster from Longsword. Yeah, pretty far ahead, I would say. It's good time to be Wild Turtle. Probably a good time to be a TSM fan as well, as these guys sit 5,000 gold up. The Dragon's up in a minute, and you got to expect TSM should have no problems claiming this objective for themselves. The swap and Xiao with a flash engage for Lustboy. Maybe he's going to get away from this one, but a lot of damage from Bjergsen. A couple Ascenders away, but a lot of damage from the Absolute Zero. Maybe they can chase back down, and in fact, they do. Bjergsen goes down. Good escape by Xiao. Xiao didn't even have to flash to leave.
1 kill back there for Impulse. However, can't really convert that into any objectives, so not too shabby for TSM. Darius even gets a decent amount of damage on the top turret.
Yeah.
I think it might give time for Impulse. 3 summoners were used in that.
It was a basic shutdown, the smallest of 3 kill shutdown, but not going to be that huge.
He's got his own damage on Darius for sure. But as far as Dragon preparations go, they're still in the favor of TSM. TSM has the pink ward control over Dragon. Darius is getting to that tanky point where Impact can't really break through to bully him anymore. Therefore, the split pushing potential, even with the challenging smite and the 3 kills, he's not really able to move Darius. It makes this roam up by Adrian a little bit questionable. I don't feel like they can do anything.
Well, Dragon's alive right now, and if Team Impulse are betting on TSM doing it, maybe they can go for the Cogmoth.
They walk through wards getting there. While there are no wards on Baron, they did walk through this
Corki and Dragon still bottom though.
Jungle.
Yeah, deep wards from TSM being incredibly important.
Darius gonna get pulverized into the wall, maybe a headbutt, but just not enough being done there. Impact gonna get knocked up, and Darius doesn't care too much. Should be a quick, clean Dragon kill then when TSM do want it after they stop the rest of this pressure. Xiao gets knocked around, thankfully for him, away from Santorin.
TSM can take the Dragon at their leisure at this point, it feels like. But they may end up trying to pressure this mid lane first. They have the advantages. Darius is immovable in the top lane right now, so TSM is free to go where they please.
And where they please to knock down mid lane tier 2, so Solomid, 6,000 gold up here. Whatever objective they want, they tend to get, and maybe now it's blue buff. Everything being taken off the map right now by these guys.
Map control. The name of the game for TSM when they have been on red side. They get that small advantage, and they don't seem to give it up. Rush was trying to get vision control. it cost him his life.
Rush down again. So, talking about taking the dragon at your leisure. Also pick up the jungler on the way. Everything going according to plan here for TSM.
This series has been almost the deconstruction of Rush's playstyle by TSM, taking his aggression, moving him away from Lee Sin, pushing him back onto Nunu, where it just is not the way Rush plays. It's not enabling his strengths. It is showing a lot of holes in Rush's game that very few teams are able to expose this year, but TSM is punishing him for every movement he makes.
And Dyrus, who Team Impulse tried to punish every time. Ban the Lulu. Okay, he plays Maokai. Fine, ban the Maokai, take the Lulu. He plays Sion. Seems to be fine. Dyrus having enough to do in this game, holding onto his top lane decently well. Impact's got a gold lead. Doesn't seem to be showing. Dyrus able to survive these matchups just fine.
Impact is doing everything he can up there. Trying to take jungle camps, trying to steal red, keep pressure top, take the crabs, crab control acquired. It's just...
Yeah, he's doing good things,
only
but
so
top lane
much
just
one
doesn't
dragon
matter.
can do.
Yeah. The one solo kill was really nice. His team fighting's been good, but every single time like Dragon's up, teleports are down. So TIP have not been able to use Impact for team fights reliably. Solomid winning the team fights because of this. Mid lane tier 2 is already gone. Wildcard is going to knock down top lane outer. 4 turrets to 1 in this game. Every single measure of victory in TSM's favor so far. And Dyrus with teleports bot lane. The rest of the team ready to go top.
They know something's up.
Jump! Tricky by Impact. Maybe the team's going to show up here. Out he goes. Oh, by Lustboy. Impact goes down to the burn. Wild Turtle takes him out, and the fight continues. Rush takes a Lulu ult, but only to run away. The teleport from Dyrus will not find much but some minions, but it will be top lane tier 2, I assume, going down. Dyrus, nearly knocks down Xiao, but buys him even more time to take this turret down.
This is Impulse falling apart right now. Impact had predicted so many of the ganks in previous games to TSM. That time he predicted it, but he could still not escape thanks to the beautiful anchor toss from Lustboy. Now pressure moves to Baron.
We see so many of these full collapses at the end of these best of 5 series because they're so taxing.
Whew. That's going to be anchors away. Into Apollo they go, but he's going to run away from this one. All right, whatever.
You were saying?
Yeah. Yes, these are very draining, long best of 5 series, right? So slowly breaking down this. Okay, let's take a look at the replay. He sits in there for a pretty long time, and it looked like maybe a little bit of miscommunication. They were thinking of going with an offensive play there instead of just immediately jumping out. But waiting around that long...
They knew Dyrus wasn't there, so they thought maybe if they get the right initiation, they can pull Shabana Lulu ult to maybe wombo the whole team down.
And that's where very, very quick decision-making has to be made, and clear calls are very important, because a moment's hesitation like that, that's all that Lustboy needs. One small opening, and he lands another really nice anchor toss.
Oh, wow. Wild Turtle going hard, push and rush around. And TSM's had some very good plans this game. Baron's still on the table. They've been playing the top side river for a very long time here. I guess the last 5 minutes roughly. And they're routinely picking up advantages this way. Pink Ward in front of the pit. Doesn't spot the ones in the back though. Impulse know there's no Baron baits really on the table here. Impact sent to the bottom lane. Away from Baron with the teleport. Maybe he can make something happen. Create a pressure point. There is no teleport for Dyrus, so maneuvering for TSM may be difficult. Apollo, of course, you can still sit back and wait for Kog'Maw to get gigantic.
Nice ward that Impulse has been able to sneak inside that pit. Basically, Impact would have to teleport right next to the Baron.
He's going
giving up his own fate here. I think this is trouble. TSM backing away.
Smites and a Nunu. TSM, what are they going to choose for? Impact goes in for Baron. They really want it. Rushes there. Red team gets Baron Nashor. That's Team Solomid. Good luck with this fight, Impulse, because Impact's going to be going down as well. That's 2 kills picked up. Santorin survived the whole thing. 3 kills now in this one. Nobody's left standing except Xiao.
2 smites and it consumed. And Santorin gets it.
Another deathless game for Santorin also. He comes away with the Baron. I guess it wasn't really a steal, but the Smite War win versus 2 people, one of them being Nunu, and he survives another 0-0-13 this time around.
Big stun on Xiao. Goodbye.
10-1 now on Wild Turtle, the beneficiary of so many good team fights by TSM. And a lot of that's been created by Santorin. Wild Turtle has done some solo flanks on his own. It's this, I want to say a lot of experience for TSM, but for Santorin, it's just talent almost. It's the practice he's put in with TSM to be calm in these situations, going up against that many smiters and consumes and still getting it.
This is the reason. Not sure if we've revealed something yet, so I'll keep my mouth shut. That's a secret still, I think.
It'll be with the tease. Impact comes in.
Oops.
Yeah, but look at this. It's, you can tell they're focusing on this. If Impact and Impulse just say now, everyone bursted damage at 2000. So somehow Santorin recognized that was when Impulse was going to burst it, throws his smite in there randomly, able to pick it up, and then because of the giant gold lead, TSM crushes it.
Yeah, Rookie of the Split Santorin crushing in this series overall. You talk about deathless games, you're talking about how much he's hitting smites, we're talking about how he's doing so much heavy lifting in these team fights. And this is a dragon that will be going over without even Santorin's help. You know what? Wild Turtle can get this one. No big deal. But that's number 3 here. Movement speed for Team Solomid. They're up stupid amounts of gold right here, 28 minutes in. And they're looking for bottom lane.
Yeah, I mean, talking about rookies of the split, these were the 2 main front runners for North America going head-to-head, Rush and Santorin. Consistency pays off for TSM. Santorin doesn't even feel like a rookie. He's so level-headed, and he fits in with TSM so well. Looks like he's going to head to his first finals with the team.
Yeah, and TSM very close to going to their 5th consecutive LCS final. Dyrus would have gone to all 5 if they close this one out. Wild Turtle missiles. Those things are hurting.
Wow, Adrian didn't even think he needed to ult, but he did. There's the kill. There's Dyrus in. Impact will tank it, but he's slowly and surely losing a lot of health. Absolute Zero buys a bit of time, but Rush going to be a casualty maybe as Wild Turtle keeps putting in damage, but there's the kill on Impact. There's the kill onto Apollo one more time. This Kog'Maw 1, 5, and 3 not getting the damage output except for his passive. 2 inhibitors down. TSM looking to close this game in under 30 minutes as well. They got better and better throughout this series. 1 loss followed by 3 wins. And Team Solomid, if they can close this game out, as they break down the base. Yeah.
Oh dear.
Oh dear. Oh dear. There's another kill picked up as Adrian goes down. Final turret dropping. Wild Turtle still here. That's going to be it. Nexus going down 29 minutes and 30 seconds. Team Solomid in 4 games heading to the finals.